Part 60. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 607. Ziwei's dream has finally achieved the first step. The pace of the arcane era is getting closer. Natalia stood in the plane transmission center not far away. Her vision is very good, seeing all happening, everything of. He really did it. It was like a dreamy time. Charlotte had the deepest feeling. 2 years ago, she was only a small high-level magic apprentice, working hard to become a formal magician one day. In less than 2 years, she is already a 5th-order Blood Knight and 4-ring magician, and Ziwei started from the middle-level magic apprentice, completing the challenge of the 7 masters. With the release of the Arcane and the completion of the Morning Star Tower, where the Arcane Division is headquartered, was originally a great ideal that was like a dreamy dream. Natalia and Charlotte, the two lovers of Ziwei, have sincere appreciation and praise for his achievements, but there are subtle differences between the two. Charlotte is like a vine-like woman. She is wrapped around the tree of Ziwei, satisfying his needs and fulfilling his expectations. Ziwei has occupied most of her life and future, mostly summer. Lot is completely revolving around the West. Unlike Natalia, the family heir education received from childhood has cultivated her keen insight and overall view of the military, political history and other fields that only men like, and Natalia has always had her own ideals and ambition. It's just that the encounter with Ziwei's encounter has awakened the tenderness of a woman who is sleeping in her body, but this is not enough to transform the whole person into a woman like a vine. On the contrary, she has always been a tree. She cannot tolerate herself as a vassal or cumbersome of Ziwei. She must go hand in hand with him, fight side by side, become the same tall towering tree, standing on the earth. Natalia's eyes flashed a bit of perseverance. I've done enough preparations, and then I'm going to start the challenge of my master's card. Natalia has been promoted to the 6th Order Blood Knight. It has been a whole year. In this year, Natalia has been very serious about her life and time. This is how she has been from her father, Karo. Learned. She is grinding herself like a sword. Although the vows to victory fighter is so powerful, Natalia knows that it is not her own power. If you can complete the Master's Card Challenge and promote the Master's Blood Knight, then it will be easier to master the vows victory and the enemy you can fight will be stronger. Among the crowds cheering under the Morning Star Tower, there was a man wearing a dark blue cloak and gown, hiding almost the entire person in the shadows. She stood quietly and looked up at the night stars and the most shining in the sky. The Arcanist Ziwei is out of place with the people around him. She can only be recognized under the wide robe. She is a tall woman. Even though there were a full 6 legendary casters on the scene, no one noticed her speciality, because she was the first light of the Orient world, the future of the morning, Elysia. The Violet event has already come to a close. Ziwei waved his hand, the stars disappeared, the silver moon became dim, the sun once again hung above the sky, everything returned to normal. The image of the Lord of Change and the Emperor dissipated in the air after a few words with several archons, with the 7-star arcane badge just obtained. Several VIPs attending the ceremony, the first 2 of the Blue and Red Witches of the North German Witch Council of the Vice President of the University of Copenhagen, and the Cesare Court of the Venice Joint School of Magic, were also invited to board the Morning Star Tower. Started a deeper exchange. For Ziwei, every important center of the magician in the Orient world to join the arcane system is a major victory, and the University of Copenhagen North Witch Parliament and the Venice Joint School of Magic are undoubtedly second only to the Thousand Law Tower and the most important center of magicians at the Royal Academy of Magic in France. Ziwei postponed the election of the Arcane Review Committee in order to be able to join these 3 forces. This is an important negotiation and is very important for the expansion of the Arcanist organization. If you can include the 5 most important magician centers in the world, plus your own Violet Academy, the advancement and development of the arcane will be unstoppable. With the release of each arcane journal, along with the issuance of other affiliated journals with a slightly lower weight, the arcane concept is bound to be promoted. The magicians had to come out of ancient books and spells to see new changes in the world, actively or passively accepting changes in the magical world. Zai Wei is not afraid of being left empty. In addition to the legendary magicians of the two titles, even the legendary casters such as Bow Scholar Anthony Blue Phantom Lannister can't be forward-looking in the arcane and the future research direction. Judging over yourself. Now it's just the beginning. Zai Wei can gain countless fans and supporters in the magician group by passing one and another heavyweight papers that will attract everyone's attention and guide the future of magic development. Whether it is the University of Copenhagen, the North Witch Council, or the Venice United Magic Academy, all three parties have conducted the highest level reconnaissance and evaluation of Violet and Arcane in a short period of time, and soon the high level reached a consensus, that is, the Arcane is very advanced and forward-looking, and is likely to represent a new direction of magic development. This consensus has made the top of the three magician centers stunned, knowing that every new discovery in the magic field means a major revolution in the magic world. If you can seize the opportunity in this great revolution in the magic world, it is very likely that if you step back, if you are self-sufficient, you will probably be left far behind. There are very few idiots in the magician, especially at the level of the legendary caster. The level of the soul is far superior to that of ordinary people. The brain is extremely active, and it can complete countless logical and meticulous arguments in a flash. Therefore, the wisdom of learning becomes a magician to bring to everyone. The most common impression. Even the white leader of the most sturdy Northland Witch Council changed its conservative attitude because of the blows and shocks caused by the incarnation of Zai Wei in the sky above Allendale. This time the two young firsts together coming to Violet is a sign of goodwill. Only today's time belongs to the newborn arcane masters. Zai Wei arranged for people to seriously entertain every distinguished guest, but did not open key talks with the three parties. He is now different in identity. As the chairman of the Arcane Review Club, one of the three 7-star arcanists, even the Bow Scholar Anthony and the Blue Phantom Lannister kept in the face of him. With enough respect, other arcans are very admired by Zai Wei. Zai Wei's 7 papers on the inaugural issue of the Arcane deeply convinced each reader that although they started earlier on the road to the magician than the West, the current level of the magician is higher, but this does not represent what. Bob Scholar Anthony is almost one of the most formidable magicians in human beings. He and the Third Law Undead King Bades are contemporaries, when Tulafit has just achieved the first human legendary magician. He helped him build a 1,000-law tower in the foothills of Mount Abis, and witnessed the summit of the remaining 6 legendary magicians. He is like a living fossil in a magician, and although he is still a legendary caster, he is almost respected by all other legendary casters. He is also the chairman of the ABI's Law Council of the 1,000 Laws Tower, the de facto manager of the 1,000 Law Tower. Therefore, Zai Wei also respected the Bow Scholar Anthony, and the two began an ardent exchange at the highest level of the Morning Star Tower. I am very sorry, due to the busy schedule, I am not very entertained these 2 days. I hope you can understand. Boss Scholar Anthony in front of Zai Wei wore a purple high-necked mage robe with a pointed blue gold star mage cap. It must be white, more like the legendary magician than the former Gatlin mage. I came to Violet this time and I want to meet you, Master Zai Wei. Anthony's ears are sharp. In fact, his blood is flowing through the blood of the Japanese elf, which is why he lives so much more than one. The reason for the 1,500 years old. It is necessary to know that the history of civilization of the entire human race is less than 3,000 years. He witnessed more than half of human history. He must be the person who knows the most events and secrets in the whole world. This is also the reason for his boss scholar. You have never been to the 1,000 Law Tower to learn. Almost no teacher has been a 2-time magician apprentice into a magic master. Anthony's eyes look straight at the West Victoria. The Gatlin I have already found the clerk's file. He is only the most common 3-ring magician in the 1,000 family tower. He has never had any dazzling performance. Your experience has many secrets, far beyond you. The wisdom that age can bring to you. Almost 70% of the magic masters in the entire world of Orient belong to the Tower of the Thousand Law. At least in the Tower of the Thousand Law, the world of magic is too vast and vast, the ocean of knowledge is too deep, no teacher pointing, even if it is again it is also difficult for high-skilled magicians to step into the master class or even the legendary field. I lived 1,545 years old. I have only seen someone like you. Boss Anthony raised his head and looked into the distant sky. Vills, force field spells. The pioneer, the sixth law. Zai became more and more serious about listening to the scholar Anthony, knowing that the secret of the mysterious sixth law is so rare. He used to be my student, my most proud disciple. At the age of 8, he independently completed the construction of a 3-ring spell. At that time, I did not hold a magician promotion ceremony for him, Anthony recalls. Although Zai had been mentally prepared, he was shocked, and not to mention the age of 8, a magic apprentice completed the construction of the 3-ring spell. To know that the model of the 3-ring spell is too deep for a magic apprentice, it is almost incomprehensible, and you can't read it, let alone create a 3-ring spell. He went very smoothly on this road. The 9-year-old formal magician, the 11-year-old high-level magician, and the 15-year-old magic master, this is still my intention to suppress the speed of his promotion. Anthony has completely fallen into memory. Zhong, at the age of 21, he independently created the theory of force field spells, and became the 6th legendary magician in the entire Orient world. The 21-year-old legendary magician, the pioneer of the force field spell, shines too much even if he is the same legendary magician as Victor Hugo de la. But the force field spell did not develop into a force field school. While East is so smart. After the legendary magician, the magical world has no challenge for him, so he chose to leave the Thousand Law. The Tower, that year is the sacred calendar year. He fell in love with a terrible woman, His Majesty the Holy Man of the Holy Norman Empire, Alfred V. It was a queen who was in the court, defeated 4 of her brothers and sisters and boarded the throne in blood. A woman who is very good at playing with people. The 21-year-old Vilgest fell in love and couldn't extricate himself. He dedicated his talents to the rise of the Holy Norman Empire. The magic guide ship was his invention. Holy Norman, the empire's mage and the army, with his support, opened a plane war and conquered one plane after another. Whilst is firmly tied to the chariot of the Holy Norman Empire. He stopped the process of establishing a position school and cultivating disciples. Instead, he used his own spells to add wings to the sacred Norman Empire. Finally, the 7 demon kings in the endless abyss were greatly shocked by the speed of the sacred expansion of the Holy Norman Empire. Under the leadership of the 3rd king Wise, Folkaz, the 7 demon kings led the army of millions of demons. Ambush, blocking the sacred Norman Empire marching through the multifaceted plain. That was a terrifying terrorist war. Looking at the entire Orient world is also the highest spec war of the millennium. Wheelie Stir has almost burned his life and everything, saving his lover and the last remaining imperial fleet. The 7 demon kings have fallen too, and 2 have been hit by the soul source, and have not fully recovered yet. Mr. Alfred V. Her Majesty was burned by a demon king with her own magical power, and lost her ability to control everything. Then the whole empire took place, and finally a man next to the Alfred family boarded the throne. The news of Her Majesty the Queen and Varist is also completely destroyed and not known to future generations. Zai, the world of Orient is about to usher in the biggest change in thousands of years. And you, have you prepared for it? Anthony finally finished his memory, his wise eyes staring at Zai. You and yours Arcane, will become the enemy of the legend in the shadows. The germination of the arcane is planted by you, but you may not be able to wait until the harvest season. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 608. Zai finally knows why the 6th law does not have a large enough reputation in the magic world. His records have been deliberately destroyed from the magical world to the secular. The Thousand Law Tower regards this as a taboo. A legendary magician can say that there are tens of thousands of ways to escape from the crisis, even if he cannot defeat the abyss army of the 7 demon kings, but the demon kings obviously cannot leave Wheelie Stir. However, due to the deep entanglement with the Holy Norman Empire and the Queen, he chose to die and not fall back, and eventually fell into the void. Perhaps it was in his own body that he saw the shadow of the former disciple, Wheelie Stir. Anthony spoke about the legendary story that had already been buried and gave him a piece of advice. From here you can also see the attitude of Anthony and most of the magicians he represents. The War Glory believes that these and I don't have much key. All I have to do is study and research, and improve my level of magician. This represents a born philosophy that is the opposite of the court magicians who rely on the royal family. Of course, this is also an important reason why the Tower of the Thousand Law can stand for thousands of years, but this is what Zai can't do. Can Arcane simply be an academic and change the world with gradual innovation? Of course, yes, if the original contract continues to exist, peace and development are the world, and mainstream, then Zai Far does not need to be as urgent as it is now. He can go forward on the path of the magician, increase his knowledge and ability. One day, I will create my own magic school and directly promote to the legendary magician. There will be countless people flocking, and a huge magic school can be from scratch in a short time. However, the world has never been peaceful. Even the humans of the 35th century AD have had dozens of bonfires throughout the world after leaving the mother planet. The Orient world is not a natural harmony of birds and flowers. It is a whole world that is so vast and complex, and even a multiverse. When the original contract, the Millennium Pact signed by Ms. Unu and the Lord of Glory, finally came to an end, it was like igniting the fuse of war. Even a less sensitive person, as long as he stood on a certain position, has been able to insight into the mysterious undercurrent hidden under the calm water. The war is inevitable, and it will continue to escalate. From ordinary people to professionals, to masters, to legends, to the sanctuary, and then to the true gods will be involved. This will be a whole European world. The unprecedented crisis far exceeds the scale and harm of the two empires when the elves and the orcs competed for hegemony. But the crisis has also brought opportunities. The shackles of those half-god strong men have finally been liberated for thousands of years. The temptation to ignite the immortality between the stars and the stars is almost impossible for anyone to resist. The pattern of the world there will be earth-shaking changes. Since Zai came to the world of Orient in this crucial time, he wants to truly control his own destiny. He must not miss this opportunity, even if he can protect the peace of Violin in the upcoming war. When the dust of war falls, after the victors are among the stars, the existence of the new gods will surely block the success of the latecomers. Therefore, it is impossible for Zai to follow the advice of Bo scholar Anthony to be a magician who concentrates on personal strength and academic research. He is the leader of Violet, the leader of the arcane era, trying to be in the near future. Achieving the great cause of one law, and finally the people who have reached the peak of the world. Even if there is a person who knows the people, it is impossible to know the burning fire of the ambitions in the chest of Zai. Bo scholar Anthony gave his advice and suggestions and then quietly left, but Zai is more determined. I have my own thoughts. Even with the sixth law, Wei Stir, for thousands of years, can only produce a talented person. The legendary powerhouse cannot avoid the fate of the fall. In the upcoming dark frenzy, Zai will never try single-handedly. The development of Arcane needs civilization and needs order. Therefore, he must stand on the side of light and order, and the united forces can unite to cope with the enemies in the shadow. Unlike the magical towers of the Thousand Law Tower and the Royal Academy of Magic, such as the legendary magician, the lesser-known magic center of the University of Copenhagen North Witches Council of Venice, the magical center is what Zai wants to fight for. The forces, the arcane will play a leading and bonding role, turning the elite of the magician into the support of the arcane idea and the seed of the arcane master, so that the arcane concept can spread quickly. Every magician can be said to be an elite of the people. It is impossible to completely integrate the ideas of all the magicians and turn them into an orderly army. The arcane core, magicians, and spells in the Zaiwei plan belong to strategic weapons. The ace of the arcane core will be a magical war weapon produced by the magical industrial civilization. In the Orient world, the enemy will be defeated by iron and fire to establish order. Zaiwei has a large enough ambition, but he also has sufficient patience. The future is chaotic. I don't know how many players are on the huge board of Orient. The final winner is still hidden in the fog. Zaiwei wants to follow the example of a founding emperor in the world. But the new arcane idea and Violet Island are likely to be the focus of enemies in the shadows. For this, Zaiwei also has an idea, that is, the Dark Parliament to be held 50 days later. Guided by the third law undead King Bads, the gathering of the dark forces held in the land of the dead in the bones of the land, this must be a pre-war mobilization joint and distribution theater. White Crow's Sile also received an invitation, and another important identity of Zaiwei, the 8-ring soul magic master Dai, is a very worthy identity. In the Dark Council, Zaiwei must find a way to attend, even if he only wants to be an observer. This will be his rare opportunity to observe the possible future enemies at a close distance. In this way, Zaiwei has to cope with another problem, that is, how to facing the White Ravens, Schiller. Schiller is different from other legendary spellcasters. He is a master of the spiritual school. He has developed spiritual magic to this level, and established the great city of White Crow City in the spiritual dream plane, enslaving the soul hunter race for the soul. The mage's work. Everything he has done is very close to what a legendary magician needs. Among all the legendary casters, the one closest to Domina's door, I'm afraid there is only Bow Scholar Anthony. And he can be compared. The method of Zaiwei's incarnation of Dai is not very clever, and may be able to win over others. However, it is almost impossible to deceive the past in front of the leader of the spiritual school of Schiller, the White Ravens. Zaiwei temporarily put this trouble down. Since the opening of a good head, the most important thing at present is to fight the iron and do the follow-up. The draft of the second phase of Arcane has already begun. This time it is not only the Tower of the Law and the Royal Academy of Magic of France, but even the University of Copenhagen has a large number of submissions. The Cesare Court also represents the Venice United Magic School. Organize a number of excellent papers to contribute to the arcane. The spells of the North Witch Council are not so official, but after the first meeting of the two sides, they decided not to miss this opportunity. In addition, the magicians who came from all over the world of Orient sent more than 270 magic papers to the Morning Star Tower where the Arcanist headquarters is located in a short day. The thesis is the result of their research for more than 10 years. It can be said that these people are all holding a hope, and they hope that their research can be recognized by the arcane, and truly can be famous in the whole world. The quality of these papers is uneven, and most of them are absurd or have little value. The author himself is limited by his cognition and his own strength. He has gone astray and is trapped in it and unable to extricate himself. A lot of time and effort, but the research results can only be regarded as a pile of waste. However, gold is always hidden in the gravel, and the real treasure can only be seen after the big waves are washed. After Zaiwei used his leisure time to read about 50 submissions, he found 2 new papers and one very valuable one. A paper sufficient to be published on the Arcane. Arcane can hold up to 20 papers per month, and Zaiwei does not intend to continue to thicken the Arcane or change it into a half-monthly or even weekly magazine. Arcane will be the highest-level professional journal of the entire Arcane civilization in the future. Any paper published in the above is the author's honor. Therefore, the release of the second class and 3 category subscriptions is very necessary. The first plan of Zai is to print the Violet Journal and publish the entire magical world of Orient. The Violet Journal is the Violet Research Journal of the Violet Academy. It contains excellent papers from professors and students, covering the fields from magic apprentices to high-level magicians. It is the closest to the majority of magicians. This is a more suitable one. A magical journal read by ordinary magicians. The remaining two types of journals need to be discussed with the heads of the 5 major magic centers, but under the lead organization of Zai, another heavyweight magical journal is destined to be released in the same way as the second Arcane. The name of this journal is also very simple, called Magic. Unlike Arcanism, which only publishes various theories and arguments, magical journals publish a variety of novel and practical spells. How do each spell have ideas, how to construct spell models, and how to apply spellcasting materials to key spellcasting points. To fully describe it, it can be said that as long as the level of the magician and the requirements of specialization are met, reading the paper is enough for most magicians to learn this new spell. The relationship between arcane and magic is like the relationship between Dharma and Shaolin's 72 stunts. Arcane is the foundation of true civilization. Magic is the real big killer, the existence of countless magicians. Therefore, magic cannot be widely published in a short period of time, which is equivalent to revealing his secrets to outsiders. The new magical journal will be released in the Arcane Masters in a limited number of 5 magic centers to extend the spells of the Arcane Masters and enhance the attraction of the Arcane Master. The magical journal is actually born out of the Western-style spell list, and Zai Zero and Kristen's next big effort is to be used to improve and innovate the Western-style spell list. Different from the previous functional improvements, this time to make a key breakthrough, greatly improve the mental interaction and transmission efficiency of Western Ways spell list, in order to expand the Western Ways spell list as the server and library of the magic journal. Since people are always selfish, so the result of the deliberation, Zai will open half of the magic inaugural issue, which is a full 10 spells, ranging from 3 rings to 7 rings. There are 5 towers of the Thousand Laws, the French Royal Academy of Magic, 3, and the other 3, each of which is exactly 20 spells, and the number of papers in the Arcane inaugural issue is the same. Magic journals will also reward Arcane points, but the weight will be slightly lower than the Arcane, but will also rank second in all future magical journals. The Violet Journal will also be included in the Arcane system. Papers published in the Violet Journal will receive Arcane points. Of course, the weights are very low. In particular, the students' papers may take many articles to make up for 10 Arcane points and become a 1-star Arcane Master. For the promotion of Arcane Magic, Zai is not hidden, and he does not need to hide. In a sense, this means that he will naturally occupy an absolute leadership position in the future Arcane Empire. No one can compete with him. Therefore, Zai will continue to publish a large number of papers and spells in the 2 major heavyweight journals of Arcane and Magic, until he is far behind everyone's Arcane points. Although Zai is not the 6th law of Vilgest, the talents of the Millennium, but his research on the mystery of the ether has become more and more in-depth, and is getting closer to the core of the field. This means that it is not so far away for Zai to win the title of the legendary magician of the elemental school, although he is only a magic master on the bright side. Of course, Zai has not been able to sense the existence of the door that Dela said from the soul level, let alone truly cross the door. His current rationale is beyond his own soul level, and he is not a true legendary caster. He has a long way to go from the legendary magician who is equivalent to the sanctuary. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 609. The Violet event finally ended. After 3 days of urgent consultations and multi-party talks, after talking about the most important issues about Arcane and Magic, Many guests left Violet and left many magicians. However, there are also many people who want to stay and study or teach at the Violet College. There are many middle and high-level magicians, and even 2 masters of magic. They majored in elemental schools and have long been unable to find a way to move on. However, the papers of Ziwei brought hope to them. If you accept these hundreds of magicians without any screening, the power of Violet will expand in an instant, but it will become uneven, affecting the planning of the entire college and the healthy development of Violet. It's not enough to eat a fat man. Ziwei finally came up with a simple test plan. The first test is magic theory, the second is similar to the interview of a big company, including many interpersonal teamwork ethics and the like. Test questions. When I heard that Ziwei's school had a test questionnaire, many of the magicians who had left were instead rushed back, even if they had not made up their minds to give up the power and status they had gained in the past, but always take a look. This is likely to open a new magical school in the future, and it is difficult to test the test questionnaire of a famous Westway master. In fact, the magic theory questionnaire is only 5 big N questions, are subjective argumentation analysis questions. The topics are very short, but the difficulty level is the standard progressive. Each road is far more difficult than the previous one. The first question is even a person who has just become a magician can try to answer. The second question is that many middle-level magicians can't start. The third question is that many high-level magicians have handed in the white scrolls, and the fourth question and even the 2 magic masters have only answered half of them. The last question is, explain whether substances and energy can be converted to each other. This question seems simple. The magical crystal is filled with magic, releasing them is magic energy. However, the magic in the arcane crystal has passed, but the arcane crystal itself still exists. This is not a conversion between matter and energy. Many magicians are surprised to find that all the spells that they have mastered or understood are so complicated, but almost no spell can do this. Transforming matter into energy and shaping it into matter. I am afraid that only the gods can do it. Many magicians hold some ancient and powerful secrets, and spend a lot of time and energy on exercising some spell casting. They are proud of this and think that they are really powerful magicians, but in this is very arcane. The questionnaire is completely stupid. All the problems are not entangled in the spell itself, but how to use the techniques to reveal the objective laws of the world, and how to use these objective laws to create more practical and powerful spells. Some people sneered at this strange test questionnaire, and even screamed, but more people were caught in the touch, combined with the very creative and inspiring papers seen on the Arcane inaugural issue. Perhaps this is the future of magic? As the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Copenhagen, Mr. Hemer, commented on the Arcane, this journal has finally awakened the magician from the dreams of the caster. Our magician is doing experimental groundbreaking work, not simply study how to become a more skilled spell mechanic. The Violet Academy does not have many high-end forces, so Ziwei had to sit in the invigilation and review the papers. His review work is very fast. The most important thing is of course the 5 magic theory test. The volume of this roll of paper is very high. It can clearly distinguish whether a magician's thinking is rigid, whether it is imaginative and creative. Tight logical thinking ability. There is no standard answer in Ziwei's heart. What's more important is that he can make a big wave of sandpaper through this test paper. He chooses the candidate who is the most suitable for the Violet and the most promising to become the future Arcane Master. Most of the magicians who came directly to Violet Island after seeing the inaugural issue of Arcane were very young. They learned a lot from the inaugural issue of Arcane. They published the 7 different papers for the pioneer of the Arcane concept. The master has a primitive worship, so the ability to accept new theories is also very high. Almost everyone has exhausted the time of 2 magics, and seriously completed the exam that is enough to determine the future destiny. The second exam is a lot easier. It doesn't matter about magic, but it is a bigger problem for some lonely and eccentric wizards. In fact, This exam plays a complementary role. A sufficiently good candidate for the first assessment will be accepted directly. It is not possible that everyone is at the forefront of the theory of arcane theory. Violet Academy also lacks a large number of wizard-level lecturers and staff. For these people, magic theory and arcane philosophy are less decisive, but more pay attention to whether the personality is sound, serious, and responsible. Ziwei completed the proctoring and batching work in the fastest time. 35 of the candidates who applied for admission and teaching were selected. 12 of them passed the test of magic theory and were recognized by Ziwei. The potential of the surgeon will be further studied at the Violet Academy. 23 people passed the second assessment. They will join the Violet Academy as lecturers and staff. Of course, this does not prevent them from continuing to pursue the path. The number of magicians who took the exam eventually exceeded 200, and most of them had to leave Violet with regret, but few people gave birth to resentment. The admission of the Thousand Law Tower is even more terrible. Hundreds of candidates may not be able to get a lucky one to enter the 1,000 ways. In contrast, Violet's acceptance rate for this assessment is already very high. Most of the 35 people who joined the Violet Academy this time are middle and high-level magicians. Their ages are also between the ages of 25 and 50. They are young and promising among the magicians. It can be said that they instantly make up the Violets. The gap in the high-level magician hierarchy in the college has made the development of the entire college more healthy and orderly. One of the two magic masters was defeated, and Ziwei personally informed him of the result. In the reception room on the first floor of the Violet Berg, Ziwei took a shallow drink of black tea and looked straight at the old man who was already wrinkled in the skin but was well maintained and full of charm. "I am very sorry, Master Russ, you have not passed this test and the Violet Academy is sorry that you cannot accept your participation." Ruster did not have any unexpected expressions. His upper body leaned back slightly and placed a comfortable posture in the soft sofa. "In the magic theory test, I really can't keep up with the new trend. But in the second questionnaire, I think I should have achieved good results. Yes, if you follow the 100% system, your second questionnaire will get at least 95 points, which is the highest score of this test." Ziwei sighed. "Excuse me, you should be a court magician." "What?" "The so-called court magician is different from the college magician. These magicians are mixed between the royal aristocrats and the powerful ministers. They use their own magician to win respect and use the intelligent brain far beyond ordinary people to make suggestions. Usually the closest relationship with a heavyweight big man, equivalent to the big man's owner, can also be a part-time bodyguard at a critical moment. For the court magician, the level of the magician is just a tool for them to improve their position and make themselves stronger. They prefer the power of the magic theory. The master of the master is so insightful that although he has never seen such a test before, he still understands the ideas and requirements of the person in the shortest time and chooses the method that best suits the correct answer." Answering, it was easy to hand over a nearly full-fledged answer. The arcane era has just begun, and the arcane empire has no rudimentary shape. Ziwei and Violet don't need these court magicians to join, which will make everything complicated, and even soon involved in internal friction. The new arcane and arcanist system is full of vitality, united with ideals and the future, so Ziwei had to refuse the addition of the master. "I didn't expect that you will not only make such a huge contribution in the field of magic, but also have clear judgments and speculations on the human heart." Ruster seems to default to the identity of his court magician. "The second questionnaire is very innovative. I like it very much. Every question seems to be casual, but it can be a short and direct judgment of the habitual character of the respondent and some subconscious choices that he or even he does not know. These questions are of course deep in the way, which is the adaptation of the classic test questions of the 10 greatest commercial giants in the 35th century AD. Violet is an academically important college. I built Violet in the remote western Golden Sea, just to avoid too much sand and dust to make people's hearts hear. Ziwei School, You are very young, very good, full of ambition, but the performance is gentle. At this age, you are not only a magical genius, even if you go to be a prince, you can certainly fight in the cruel king. Winning in the middle, with the crown of glory. Master said without hesitation, I am a very sensitive person, I smell the chaos from the prairie on the other side of the Ural Mountains, I listen as we approached the increasingly close footsteps of war, I saw the transformation of the country into a sea of fire, my soul is in an uncontrollable incitement, and a new era is coming. And you, Master Ziwei, was the one who made the most incredible wave before the arrival of this era. I came to see you with my own eyes. It is really worthwhile. Hearing this passage, Ziwei did not hesitate to open the real magic eye, but even the big man who is able to work in the face of the Lord of the changing morning has only seen a void and shadow. A magician can never do this. Your eyes are very bright, such eyes usually only appear on the most wise kings and commanders. Ruster smiled and said, I am looking forward to the wonderful performance of the West Victoria School in the following years, then goodbye. The Ruster in front of Ziwei made a shadow of the wind, and quickly dissipated invisible. This is not his own personal, but an incarnation. Ziwei sensed the darkness and shadow of the space. Just like the shadow plane he entered today, this is the purest shadow power. His master has surpassed the legendary rank, at least a sanctuary. Strong. Even with 11 ways accomplishments in space spells and spiritual spells, he couldn't trace the whereabouts of this Ruster. He really did it without a trace. Ziwei did not expect that he actually judged the mistake. He thought it was a court magician, but he did not expect to be a strong master on the legend of the shadow power. The multiverse of the entire Orient world is never impossible to name, and it may not be long before you can know his true identity. There is not much frustration in this aspect of Ziwei. When he was a little magic apprentice, he had already received the attention of Ms. Yanyu, and even faced one of the 7 demon kings of the Endless Abyss in his heart lake. The organization organized the Abyss Army to use the general offensive of the waves to smother the 6th law of Wylister's deceitful demons. I also met the mysterious Styapan in the deep sea plane. It was just a horror of its image. I also experienced a real fantasy in the fascinating Life Hotel in Sicily. I saw that the person sent it. 1 hour of his own hourglass, the unfathomable incarnation of the gnome Xiao Loli's magician. The entire world of the Orient world has cultivated many people for thousands of years. However, in the great era of the vicissitudes of the coming world, it will surely debut, which is the most shining in an unprecedented history. Fragments and moments. O dear Lord, who domains the fate of this world? No one knows the final result, but Ziwei's choice of the future road will not be shaken. At this moment, Ziwei was at the highest level of vigilance, and the soul level was also the most active and clear. He soon perceived a powerful and familiar person outside the gate of Violetberg, who had seen it in Notre Dame de Paris. Face, the bright sacred woman who once boarded the cover of the 3rd edition of the Par Daily, the Lord of the Morning, Eulizia. It seems that the carefully prepared tea has finally waited for a more worthy guest. Ziwei waved his hand and placed a new tea set on the table. The green tea in the cup was starting from the beginning. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 610. At the place where Yulichia went, all the way to the door opened, and the violet inside the violet castle was filled with fragrance, and the fragrance of the violet was refreshing. Although the arrival of Eulizia was somewhat unexpected from Ziwei, it is reasonable to think about it. Eulizia did not heed the call of Pope Benton XVIII, otherwise she should have been in the paradise of the paradise. Then when the original contract ends and the Dark Age comes, the existence of the Lord of the Morning will inevitably be equivalent to a lamp in the darkness, even if it is slight, it is so conspicuous. The Lord of the Morning is bound to belong to the Order camp. Her power source determines this point, and the arcane guided by Ziwei is also orderly. Therefore, although there are completely different power systems and organizations, they are also able to help each other. The power of heating. At the time of the monastery of Notre Dame, Civi realized this. The Lord of the Morning and the Bishop of Anthos also expressed goodwill in a timely manner, but at that time he was not qualified to be with the Lord of the Morning and Her Majesty. The strength is comparable, so the negotiations that should have taken place this time have been postponed until now. But fortunately, everything is still too late. In the last sunset of the darkness before the fall, the young man of the morning, Ulysses, finally made up his mind. Is it a bit disappointing to see me instead of the Duke of Rose? Ulysses showed a bright smile in the spring. She is the embodiment of light and warmth in the world, and like the winter sun, warm, let people can't help but want to get close. Sophie is leading the world's top Rose Orchestra to tour the whole world. It has just entered the Black Sea from the Syria region and is about to go to the Orc country on the other side of the sea. Ziwei invited Ulysses sat across from him. This is the most important thing for her. It must be done as soon as possible. Nice to meet you, Ulysses. I think that your evaluation of you is already very high, but your achievements far exceed my expectations. Ulysses looked at 11 Wei's eyes. You made a bad achievement. Arcanes. The emergence and the birth of the arcanist profession will change the pattern of magic as an important force in the world. A force that is enough to influence the balance of the mainland is sprouting, and it is in your hands. Ulysses, I think you and the Pope should choose a completely different path to deal with the future change. Ziwei avoided the compliment of Ulysses, went straight to the most important topic, and arrived at him. The current level, the so-called speech or negotiation skills, has no effect. Benton 18 seems to have made a wise choice, but it only delays the process of destiny to die. With the departure of the glorious Lord, the light power of the entire Orient world has changed. It becomes a rootless water, and it takes 1 point to consume 1 point. This is not a problem that they can solve in the Franconian plane. Euricia's evaluation of Benton 18 is not very high, of course. Standing in his position, this is already the best looking of all the choices. However, I can't do this. I have to build my own beliefs in the next turbulent times, and even have to lead my enemy. Competitors on the road, climb to the throne, otherwise the fall is the destiny that I will be destined. If Sufi, who masters the music priesthood, can still live in peace with most of the demigods with ambitions, then the goal is to have such an important bright priesthood. Those who have been suppressed by the glorious Lord Church for more than 2,000 years, and the resentment of hiding like Tibet like a mouse, and even the hatred accumulated by countless relatives and teachers' disciples by the light trial will never allow a new glory on the mainland. The main church. Therefore, if you want to climb to the top, you must be 1 step ahead, preemptively seal the gods, and then use the dominant position to shred and crush the enemy one by one, otherwise it will fall into the siege of countless powerful enemies. The Lord of the Morning Euricius is far more difficult and dangerous than the music master Sophie, but in the same way, she will also gain a powerful priesthood and divine power far beyond Sophie. This road is more rugged, the scenery is also more beautiful. If you simply make a division of the upcoming turbulent times, then there will be 2 very different camps, one representing the order, the noble church of the 5 great powers of Orient, the church of Ulysses, your church. And the violets that I represent and I represent. Another demon, the demon of the infinite abyss, the spider behind the dark area, the monsters with longevity and powerful strength among the infinite stars of the multifaceted plane. Although there will be frictions and disputes within the 2 camps, the confrontation between the camps will inevitably be the biggest conflict in the early days of the turbulent times. The Church of the glorious Lord who lost the grace of grace has chosen to withdraw. Then the 5 great powers must appear directly in the first line of conflict. The power of darkness is so powerful, they have prepared too much time for this opportunity to change the world. A dark parliament that aims to coordinate interests will soon be established, but the power of order is so scattered, the 5 kingdoms. Each is fighting, and the magician still chooses to remain neutral. So Ulysses, at this moment you appear in front of me, What kind of appeals are there? Zai Wei said his views on the future without hesitation. A negotiation about the entire continent of Orient was officially opened. The existence of the Lord of Glory is a double-edged sword for me. I have learned a lot from the glory of the Lord for the use of light power, learned the establishment of church organizations and the cultivation of pastors. I have almost all believers from the glory. The main church Yuli Chia said that she paused here, but the Lord of Glory is too strong. His glory is brighter than 1,000 suns. His power is even more than the Orient world. The upper limit that can be carried. Because of his existence, I have been in a state of being suppressed, unable to analyze my own source of power, so that I have been in the most primitive semi-god realm. I still cannot get from the prayers of believers. Faith and strength can only give divine power to a small number of believers. In this way, the morning church cannot expand its scale and open up its faith, and everything is in a dilemma. Mr. Shabi, you are the one who knows the rules and can sum up and summarize the chaos and the original norm in the current world. I will summon the inscriptions of inscriptions and other inscriptions from your elemental inscription protection inscriptions. This is seen in the pioneering work. This is what I lack. The power of light needs to be analyzed. The morning priests must learn to master the magic. This is the only way to get rid of the difficulties. Ulixia stood up, bent down and stared at Zai Wei deeply. I beg you for your help. I hope you can help me analyze the source of light. If the magic masters of the magicians are derived from the 4 basic elements of the earth's fire and feng shui, then there are 2 sources of power that are completely different but opposite each other, that is, light and dark. In a short period of time, Zai Wei has seen 2 peaks who represent the power of light and dark. The Master of Master is a person with deep control over the power of the shadow. The strongman above the legend, the younger lady of the morning, Ulixia, is the first light of the Orient world. If it is not the arrival of the glory, she is likely to become the brightest in the world of the Orient world. The of divine power. The world of Orient is a new world, compared with the life of the universe that used to be a few billion years old. According to the Bow scholar Anthony, through the analysis of rock geological changes and biological races and in-depth exploration, the history that can be traced back is only 100,000 years. 100,000 years, a seemingly very long life, is just a moment for a world. This is why the multidimensional plane where the Orient world is located is still born with new planes, and the old planes are constantly increasing. 100 and 200 years ago, when the Church of the Glorious Church discovered the beautiful and rich plain of Francan, it was only a medium-sized plain, but now it has reached the level of a large plain. The new smooth plain controlled by Zai Wei himself is expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. It can be said that the entire Orient universe is new and full of vitality. So there is only one in the whole world of Orient, the mysterious Silver Moon Lady Elena. So many powerful priests are not in control, one by one is in the vacancy. For the request of the Lord of the Morning, Zai Wei could not refuse. It was not because of the noble and intimate beauty in front of Yali, but that Zai Wei had a very strong desire to explore the source of light. Through continuous and in-depth research on the ground feng shui and the 5th element ether, Zai Wei has been able to conclude that elemental light and shadow are the core grassroots structure of the whole world, representing the most profound and deepest force in the world. If one person has complete control over these forces, it will be far more powerful than the sacred powers in the field. If we rely on the 5th element of the ether, Zai Wei has a clue to the exploration of the elemental source, then he really never touched and could not explore for light and shadow. But now standing in front of him, the woman who made the request is the first light of the Orient world. The younger lady of the morning, Ulixia, represents the original light source of the immense world of the Orient world. The younger lady of the morning, Ulixia, is already a semi-god strong man. She truly stands on the top of the world's strongest. On the real combat power, I am afraid that it is also the top 5 or even the top 3 in the world of the Orient world. A few legendary magicians, but also to open up the Westway do not know how many levels. Without the cooperation of the younger lady of the morning, Eulizia, Ziwei would never have the opportunity to explore the source of light, which is the core of her power, something that is far more important than the body's brain and thought. This means that the early morning Lord Eulizia will have no reservations about Ziwei, and it must be a very difficult decision. As a selected person, Ziwei is also very happy. I am honored to receive your approval and evaluation from Eulizia. I will do my best for your request. Ziwei also stood up and extended his right hand to the blonde in front of him. This will be an important opportunity, represents the union of the violet and the morning church, just like the two lights lit up in the dark world. From now on we will fight side by side, stick to the light and order, and fight against evil and chaos. At this moment, both the morning church and the violet are still in their infancy, and from the perspective of power, they are far weaker than the five great powers of the mainland. But no country is a piece of iron, only one will. The king divides the nobility, the aristocrats lead the people, and the five great powers of Orient are still in the standard feudal era, and because of the existence of the aristocracy, the ruling class holds a powerful force. Therefore, there is a long peace. But the turbulent era is coming. The Church of the Glorious Lords launched the sacred retreat, and the five great powers must become the object of the numerous wild wolves and griffins. Just because they have the greatest wealth and population. Not only that, but the weaker cities of the Federal Republic of China will fall into the dark in the first time of the turbulent times, and only the most powerful and well-prepared people may be spared. The power of darkness has been deconstructed for a long time, and the union has begun. Ziwei cannot fight against the darkness alone. It is very important to choose the most suitable ally. The young monk of the morning, Eulizia, and her morning church, naturally become the whole of Ziwei. The most suitable ally that the mainland can find. Eulizia was also very happy with Ziwei's reply. She and Ziwei's hands were tightly held together for a long time. The whole person of Eulizia is the embodiment of the energy of light. She did not acquire human identity like Sophie. Therefore, her feelings for Ziwei have always been unreal, until this moment she clenched her hand. West Wei Cai seems to finally have a real feeling. The two finally separated their clasped hands, and Eulizia sat down to pick up the tea in front of her. Do you have an impression of the name of Ruster? He has the power of the shadows that are very close to the source, and his personal strength is above the legendary level. Ziwei raised a question. Just at least 30,000 years of Shadow Dragon, the creator of the Shadow Sorcerer organization, Ulysses really knows about this Rust, all-powerful creatures in the shadow plane. Among them, his control of the shadow source is the closest to the core. Dragon of Shadows, Ziwei silently, did not expect that Rus actually a dragon. The dragons have long left the stage of the continent of the Orient. The dragon is a great creature with a legendary level of warfare as long as it grows up. The most powerful ones have evolved into very powerful ones in the long life, which is also close to the level of the demigod. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 611. Violet Island on the sacred calendar year is very lively, because this is the time for the new year of the Violet Academy to enter the journal. The establishment of the Violet Academy was less than a year old, but it has become the most powerful magic school in the whole of the Orient continent from the original small college that was previously unknown. Compared to the old magical Holy Land that has stood for hundreds of years in the French Royal Academy of Magic, Violet's admission to the West Golden Sea is still relatively low. Many of the magicians' sons or descendants, nobles' young girls with magical talents can easily reach the standard. With the advent of Arcane and the emergence of the first alchemists in the world of Orient, a new wave of fashion is rapidly gaining popularity in the magic world of the Orient continent. As long as the magicians gather, someone will discuss surgery and Arcanist 11 way. In this case, the reputation of the Violet Academy has expanded from the Kingdom of France to the entire continent of Orient, and the qualifications of magic apprentices and magicians applying for admission this year have also greatly improved. Under this circumstance, MRS Charlotte Winschell and Fawaway, who are in charge of enrollment work, had to give up many of the less outstanding candidates, and continue to expand the enrollment scale after obtaining the consent of Ziwei. With a total of 1,200 freshmen, the original empty dormitory of the Violet College was quickly filled up. Even the South China Sea and the town became crowded and looked very lively. The area of Violet Island is not large. It can be said that without affecting the beautiful scenery, the scale of nearly 5,000 people in Violet has reached the upper limit of the existing colleges and universities. Next year, Ziwei will consider reclamation. It's just that Violet has recruited a new group of lecturers, otherwise the old teachers are really not enough to cope with the new teaching. The Violet Academy can be said to be really changing every day, and it is developing rapidly with the speed of blowing balloons. Compared with the strict requirements of other magical holy places, Violet has truly taught and classless, and student life is extremely exciting. A variety of colorful teaching methods and social practices as well as entertainment methods make everyone very happy and efficient. On this day, dozens of outstanding magicians who went to the deep-sea plane for summer practice finally returned to Violet Island through the transmission plane of the Plane Transmission Center. They have the exhaustion of the dust, and they have become many. Reading thousands of books and traveling thousands of miles, this is a famous saying inscribed on the wall of the Violet Student Practice Center. Many students also remember the words of Ziwei School. What is that? A tower like a galaxy. Just stepped out of the Plane Transfer Center, a magician was surprised to find the Morning Star Tower of the Arcane Division headquarters not far away. I always feel that something is very important to miss. Trees looked at the distant Morning Star Tower, and said with regret. I think we will know the answer soon. A small group of students, Esmeralda, said with a smile. She had already seen her brother, Jude. Jude has risen a lot in just 1 year, more like a real man. The neat short hair has been added to add more mature charm. Jude, the head of the drama club, has become the dream girl of most girls in Violet College. After getting the explanation of the instructor Ziwei, Jude finally put down a heavy psychological burden. He no longer struggles with his slow promotion speed, but completes his studies more solidly. I was promoted to the official magician. It was a month ahead of my expected speed. Esmeralda went to the younger brother and she showed a happy smile. An unexpected adventure. Just a week ago, the meeting of the Arcsol Review Club and the Arctic Masters Conference was held. This Morning Star Tower was built by the West Victoria School and the headquarters of the Arcanists. The school lowered the rain of elements in the night stars, and almost all the magicians present were condensed and increased in magic. I also crossed the threshold of the official magician. Jude looked at the Morning Star Tower full of eyes. Desire. He obviously also seems to be able to enter the tower one day, as a glory of the Arcanist. It was a pity that I couldn't witness this event. Tree said with emotion. Let me go, I still have a lot of important things to deal with. So everyone disbanded here and went back to their respective residences. As the leader of the Violet Academy, most of them moved out of the dormitory and lived in clean and tidy apartments. Esmeralda and Jude and their younger brothers walked side by side on the streets of the Violet Academy. The two men were handsome, and the women's temperament was dusty. Esmeralda and Jude live in a 2-row villa, each occupying a side, sharing the dining room and kitchen, and the most critical simple magic laboratory. Esmeralda took out one large package from the space ring and instantly filled the entire living room. Each package was round and labeled. What is this? Jude asked on the sofa, curiously. Special soils and plants collected in the deep-sea plane. Esmeralda talked with Jude and skillfully opened all the parcels, sorted them, and placed them in the laboratory. Why did you bring so much? Jude frowned, and the materials needed for the magic experiment were not so exaggerated. I have found a new topic that is worth exploring, and it takes a lot of time and effort to study, and these experimental materials are exactly what I need. Esmeralda wore a very capable white shirt and jeans, hair it has become a simple ponytail, and the hibiscus on the face is generally beautiful, without any makeup. Get up, instead of squatting on the sofa, it is better to help me sort out these experimental materials. You are already a formal magician, you can be my experimental assistant. If I can get good research results, I will write a paper and publish it in the Journal of Violet. Upon hearing the last sentence, the original lazy Jude was in a moment of energy, and he stood up and began to organize his work with great enthusiasm. How are you so diligent today? I am not a little girl who needs your attention, Esmeralda commanded Jude, and the two worked together more efficiently. Do you know? The Arcane Division's assessment criteria have been published, and a 1-star Arcane Division only needs 10 Arcane points. The current way to get Arcane points is to publish a paper in the Journal of Arcane Magic and Violet. The standards of Arcane and Magic are too high, and the Violet Journal is the only chance we can get Arcane points now. Jude's speed is very fast, like a machine gun bullet. In this short period of time, Esmeralda has been working with a single heart, mentally connected to the Violet Badge, boarded the Violet Forum, and learned about the recent big events and big news of the entire college. Then cheer up, if you make enough valuable contributions, I will add your name to my thesis as the second author, Esmeralda said without hesitation. Don't worry about my sister, I am professional, Jude replied in an instant. Trees rushed to the heart and used the intensive blast to speed up and ran quickly, and soon returned to his hut. Trizer, you are finally back. After opening the door, the pleasant girl Sui 11 directly plunged into the arms of Trees. During this time, the feelings of the two people quickly warmed up, although they did not confess each other, but they have already had a lot of relatives. Tracy has just entered the high-level magic apprenticeship, which is in the middle and lower reaches compared with the students enrolled in the same period, and there is a big gap between Trees and the Violet Star. She is also very aware of this. As a daughter of a small citizen, she never thought about being able to marry a young and noble aristocratic child like Trees as his wife, to maintain the relationship with Trees, and to be with them for the rest of their lives. Will suffice. Is my father replying? Trees gently printed a kiss on the bright head of Tracy, and asked after they separated. There was a letter that Miss Marnie had arranged for the maid to send. I have not taken it apart. Tracy took a large envelope out of the locker. A light blue light was shot directly from Trees' hand, and the envelope was instantly disintegrated. Trees saw all the contents of the letter at a glance. Great. My father said that he will set off after the arrangement of the things in the territory. It is expected to arrive in Nanhai Town in the middle of next month. Trees was happy with his hands. This way I can finally reunite with my family. I haven't seen my father for 3 years. Trizer, will your father be very strict and very powerful? Tracy has known Trees for 3 years. In her impression, Trees' father seems to have always been a standard image of a strict father. You are so cute and cute, he will like you. Trees stroking the face of Tracy, his eyes filled with water and tenderness. Gifts for you, I hope you like it. Trees' ear took out a beautiful pearl necklace, which is the specialty of the Naga Kingdom on the seafloor. The quality of the pearls of the Naga Kingdom is far superior to that of the Orient. In this way, this pearl necklace is a masterpiece of the jewel master of the King of Sagnar, and if it is sold in the commercial city of Venice or the King of Pali, it will certainly sell a big price. Tracy was really overjoyed. The woman had almost no resistance to the jewelry. She stood still, letting Trees wear the pearl necklace on her white neck. This string of pearl necklaces can enhance your magical affinity and magic, and it is very helpful for you in the apprenticeship stage. Trees posted in the ear of Tracy, whispering, the hot airflow makes the face of Tracy, it has completely turned into a red apple. Well, time is tight, I have to hurry to carry out key experiments, and I am trying to complete a valuable paper, published in the Violet Journal. I just browsed the hot posts of the recent Violet Forum. It is the easiest to publish a paper on the Violet Journal. The way to get the arcane points. For being a glory of the Arcanist, I am bound to get it. Trees clenched his fist and was full of fighting spirit. Trizer, I believe that you are the best. Tracy picked up his toes and printed a blushing kiss on Tree's face. Since the beginning of the arcane point as a currency operation in the Western Ways spell list, since listening to the speech of the West Victoria School, full of imagination for the upcoming arcane era, you can say that the entire Violet College teachers and students we all share a common ideal, that is to become a glorious arcane master. However, the career of the Arcanist has always been invisible in the fog, until the Violet event a week ago. The only standard for the selection of the arcane masters was revealed, that is, the arcane points. Arcane and magic are the battlefields where masters and even legends debate their ideas and ideas. For most of the students of the Violet Academy, the Journal of Violet is the only place where you can hope to get arcane points. Therefore, countless people have started their experiments and papers and strive to realize their dreams. When the students of the Violet Academy began to compile academic papers, the 2 test papers produced by Zaiwei were also spread throughout the Orient continent with the unsuccessful magicians. The first test of the magic theory has received the attention of almost all magicians. The difficulty of these 5 big questions is gradually increasing, the steps are clear, and it is the key place that the magic world has ignored or even discovered for thousands of years. Many confident magicians started the answer to this test, but they eventually lost in pain. Most of them lost to the second question. Each level has countless people, and the last one when demonstrating the test questions of material energy conversion, there is no answer in the entire magic world that can really be recognized by everyone. So this test paper ushered in more challenges from the magician and won more attention for himself. This test paper is hailed as the 5 major questions of the Arcanist Zaiwei and became the magic of the next few decades. A key issue that the division can't escape is recorded in the history of magic and is used as a fun event full of time markers. In this process, Zaiwei's reputation is getting bigger and bigger. Although he has not been promoted to the legendary level so far, in many people's minds, he is very likely to achieve the title of the next legendary magician. More outstanding young people are not far away from the sea to Violet Island, hoping to get the guidance of Zaiwei. Not long after, the second phase of Arcane and the inaugural issue of the Magic were published simultaneously. The Arcane was released in public, and it was still 1,000 hardcovers and a large number of copy books. The release of the Magic inaugural issue took a very novel approach. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 612. Ball, have you been summoned by the school? The University of Copenhagen was in front of the office of Heimer School, and the 2 young magicians met. Piat, I am afraid not only you and me. Bobo's unsettled face showed a glimmer of hope. This is a rare event, and it is estimated that there are important things. Zaiwei's definition of standard units such as time quality finally became popular in the magical world of the Orient continent with the widespread promotion of Arcane. In the Ulut world, there has never been a standard measure of waiting in addition to the time of magic. Even so, Zaiwei contributed minutes, seconds, and milliseconds on the basis of magic time and engraving. The precise time unit concept required by the wizard to measure. Heimo's school is rigorous, and the management of the School of Magic is also very strict. He is accurate to every minute and every second, so there will be no problem of scheduling mistakes. Is it the new arcane to arrive? The calculation time is also fast. Many professors have written papers according to the specifications of the arcane in the previous period. I don't know that there will be several papers from the university on this arcane. The young magician named Piat has a messy brown short hair and a blind eye. The mage robe on his body is also very simple. It looks like a night owl that doesn't wake up, but he has all the magicians at the University of Copenhagen the most talented spell model building ability. He developed a lot of practical new spells. The power of many spells exceeds the standard spell level. Boer is an outstanding magician who specializes in summoning and changing 2 colleges. He is also the youngest master of magic at the University of Copenhagen. When Boer and Piat walked into the office of Hymo School, they found that there were 4 other magicians, 3 men and 1 woman. Their common point is that they belong to the young Junyan. It can be said that the hope of the entire Copenhagen University School of Magic is pinned on these 6 people, who are also the most promising candidates for the future. Although Heimer is only a vice president of the University of Copenhagen, the university is a comprehensive university, and the school is led by the Danish self-governing leader. As the legendary magician, Heimer has been the most powerful and prestigious magician here. He soon appeared in front of everyone, and there was a large strange square metal floating around him. "It's nice to meet everyone, my students." Heimer waved his hands. "The second phase of the arcane and the magical issue that has just been sent from Violet has arrived." "How many papers did our university publish?" Boer was the only magician among the young wizards, and he asked. "2 articles, the papers of Master Weska and I passed the review of the members of the Arcane Review Society. Professor Moroz's thesis has a little bit of ambiguity that needs to be revised, but it should be published in the next Arcane. Hammer is very happy. This is a good start. Only the Society's own papers have been approved in Venice, and there is only one in the north, which is Parliament. Soon, there was an extraordinary silver-winged owl that flew in from the window with a few big arcane spells, and gave the second edition of the 6 editions of Arcane to each young mage. This silver-winged owl is the magical favorite of Hymo School. Although it seems that there is no fighting power, the core inheritance of the summoned school has been strengthened to a very powerful level. The second phase of Arcane is still 21 essays. This time, the cover is replaced by the Star Tower, and in the Night Stars, the group of the first 15 Orientians of Orient. Although not as dreamy as the first stars, it is even more shocking and inspiring. The authors of the 21 papers have their own notes on the college, 7 from the Tower of the Thousand Laws, and 4 from the Royal Academy of Magic in France. This time, the Master of the West Victoria was not as crazy as the last time, but also published 5. The papers still cover different fields and have an inspired and open style. In addition, there is a paper published by a magic master named Coventry, which is printed with a beautiful violet emblem. The Coventry Master is the magic master who just joined the Violet Academy through the test. He has answered 3.5 in the 5 magical theories of Ziwei. The completion of the 3 is very high and the distance is the most standard. The answer is very close. Coventry's paper is a high-level evaluation by Ziwei, which is enough to be published directly in the Arcane Journal. Although in the second phase of the Arcane, the 2 legendary magicians did not continue to publish the paper, which made everyone a little disappointed, but the entire 6 papers published by the legendary caster also tempted every magician to read. More importantly, compared with the inaugural issue of Arcane, the 2 Arcane theses of the legendary magician Arcane Advocate, Ziwei, and others, has a huge gap. The overall level of the 21st paper in the second period has risen a lot. So the second phase of the Arcane is equally exciting and did not disappoint all followers. Where is the inaugural issue of Magic? Piat did not open the Arcane in his hand. He was obsessed with spells and spell models, so he had higher expectations for Magic than Arcane. "It's the smart machine around me," Heimer School shrugged. At the Violet Academy, there is a smart machine named Ziwei's Spell List, which stores more than 3,000 spells. Just pay enough arcane points, you can redeem the spells you need. Now this machine is called a spell list, and every spell is stored in it and gradually accumulates. The West Victoria School has made 5 units and delivered them to the 5 colleges. I only have 7 unlocks in my hand. This is a very complicated hex magic key. Even with my computing power, I can't deduct it. If it is brute force, it will damage this machine. You 6 people, who will get the magic unlocking permission from my hands, can learn and understand the magical spells stored in this list of spells, which are collected by the top performers of the whole of the continent, so that they are not open to the public. There are a total of 20 spells. Of course, you only need to learn 20 of them. Everyone looked at Haimo's school with a blank look. Haimo's 2 little beards curled up, and he was obviously very happy, because I want to summon this 7-ring spell by the heavenly thunderbird I have provided. You should have fully mastered it. The 5 young Toshihiko, besides Bor, did not complete the challenge of the master's certificate, but they have already come to this threshold, as the base camp of the summoning school, the signature spell of the sect of the Thunderbirds of Heaven. They have all been carefully studied and studied. It's just that this spell is a legacy spell that only a handful of the best magicians can reach, even at the University of Copenhagen, because the Thunderbird has already disappeared from the Orient continent, and it's very difficult to summon this powerful magical creature. Of 21 spells on the magical issue have all condensed the creator's thoughts, sparking the spark of wisdom, and experiencing and understanding these spells. They are very helpful to your breakthrough master's certificate and subsequent success. For this reason, Heimer did not provide the unlocking authority key of the magic inaugural issue to the professors, but gave the 6 young Junyan in front of him. This outsourcing looks like a large piece of cubic metal intelligent machine. It was during this time that Ziwei Zero and Christine's new creations were specially created for magical journals, and the spiritual interaction efficiency has made a breakthrough. The expansion was again completed on the limit of carrying spells. After the upgrade, Ziwei's spell list can support the mental interaction links of 5,000 teachers and students in the school, and can carry the 8-ring master level spells. Ziwei will soon add all the 8-ring spells he has mastered. Among them, the arcane point required for each 8-ring spell exchange is up to 30,000 points. However, with the advancement of the students of the Violet Academy, the number of arcane points they can obtain through various channels is also increasing. For example, publishing a paper in the Violet Journal will get a lot of arcane points and complete the deep sea level. The summer practice of the face also has a lot of arcane points. Many students have been able to exchange their favorite 3-ring and 4-ring spells, and the richest students can even spend thousands of arcane points to convert 5-ring spells. The unique spell teaching mechanism of Ziwei's spell list makes learning and mastering of magic easier and more concise, more efficient, and more standard. This is the most perfect construction machinery. The big function can free the magicians from the tedious learning and mastery of the spells, and put them into more valuable habits and arguments. The 5 spell lists sent to the Royal Law School of the University of Copenhagen, the Union of Magic School of the University of Copenhagen, and the North Witches Parliament are a simplified version of the Western Way's spell list, but hosted 21 spell learning. The way is exactly the same, and the Hammer correction made this controversial decision after the experience. Compared with the Arcane, in a short time to spread the entire continent of Orient, set off a wave of waves, the release of the magic issue is very secret, and Ziwei has only produced 50 unlocking keys. But magic allows more talented wizards to get a completely different experience than the past, but a spell that encompasses all aspects of the function, from completely different schools, but they can learn and master themselves in a short period of time. Major school spells, even if there are school conflicts, can master the essence of some spell ideas. This is a very big benefit, which can greatly shorten the time they spend learning to master the spell. It is precisely because of the secret of magic, the radiance of Arcane shines in the 5 magical holy places. Since the Vice President Yang was still studying in Wangdupali, Ziwei had to provoke the management duties of the Violet Academy during this time. He was busy as a Giro in the Violet and Smooth Plains, and even to the time when a lover is warm can't be squeezed out. After the appointment of the full-time cooperation with Ziwei, Ulixia, the Lord of the Morning, did not leave the island directly, but leisurely stayed in Violet Fort. The light source of the morning sun, Ulixia, is naturally impossible to carry around, but it is swaying through the city, and I don't know how many powerful enemies will attract. This bright source has been buried in the morning chapel on the ground floor of the Notre Dame of Par, which is also the core secret center of the entire morning sect. Ziwei has already reached an agreement with Ulixia, and will depart after 10 days and return to Wangdu Pai Li, on the one hand for Ulixia, and on the other hand, from the White Ravens, Schiller returns to White. The time in Crow City is getting closer and closer, which means that the Dark Council will be held soon. I am afraid that this year's birthday will be the last grand festival that the people of the whole continent of Orient can enjoy. Time is really waiting for people. The turbulent era will soon arrive in the backyard of Violetberg in the martial arts field. A heroic horsewoman is waving the épée in his hand, setting off a white storm and bringing a huge amount of smoke. The female knight is Natalia Bonaparte. She has already opened the challenge of the Master's card, but she has not found a clue. The challenge of the Master's card is naturally impossible to succeed. For thousands of years, no matter how many professional losers, there are more people than successful ones. Once you fail in the challenge of Master's card, the next challenge will not only require a lot of time to accumulate and succeed, but the chances of success will also drop dramatically. This is a vicious circle, so many people have to slow down in the 6-ring stage and try their best to win. Natalia is only 18 years old this year, and she was promoted to the 6th ring Blood Knight last year. She is too young. Although she is surrounded by the blood of the Bonaparte family, she is awakened with the help of Ziwei. The blood of the Golden Lion, but the blood of the Golden Lion is so overbearing, the requirements for the challenge of the promotion master is far higher than the normal occupation. Now Natalia can easily defeat the original Pirate King Cook even without relying on any weapon of the gods, but the Pirate King Cook is a master warrior, but Natalia has not been able to break through the master's certificate. At this moment, Natalia finally realized that she was not well prepared. In order to catch up with the promotion speed of Ziwei, she could work side by side with him in order to be his vassal. I don't know swordsmanship, but I can feel it. Your heart is up, a gentle voice suddenly passed through the storm, echoing in Natalia's ear. She put down the giant sword in her hand and turned around to see a gentle woman who was as warm as the sun. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 613. Once Natalia and the 3-ring magicians Ziwei went to the deep sea plane to explore, and several powerful masters of the ranks successfully saved the third apostle of Ziwei, Freya. The feelings of the two it is also sublimating on the bottom of the sea and eventually becomes a happy lover. However, in many subsequent adventures, Ziwei chose to travel alone. When Natalia was chatting with Ziwei on the bed, he always told him what he saw and heard during the trip, and she was impressed. The most profound is the two strongest people in Pai Li, the Master of Music, Sophie, and the Lord of the Morning, Ulixia. All the time, Natalia knows that the upper limit of the profession is legend. Entering the legendary field seems to have reached the limit of mortal, and it is no longer possible to continue to break through. But from the mouth of Ziwei, she only knows that there are still sanctuaries on the top of the legend, and that they have crossed the last threshold and began to unite their beliefs, in order to ignite the gods and gods to prepare for the gods. The Master of Music and the Lord of the Morning is such a strong, and more importantly, they are still beautiful and temperament beauty. This makes Natalia so excited, her eyes are more open, and one day she will step into the legendary sanctuary of the Masters from the paradigm, and finally challenge the constellation above the stars. Natalia, the first 4 issues of the Pi Daily, has been collecting, although for the choice, and Violet is the exchange student of Lucia. It is accurate that her cousin has some colds, but for music the Lord and the Lord of the Morning have always had a very appreciative attitude and are looking forward to meeting them soon. For Princess Lucia, Natalia gave birth to a vigilant and wary heart, because the Lucia princess, such as Qiujian and Ziwei, established a good intimate relationship, which may threaten her and Ziwei's future marriage. This is absolutely unacceptable to her. After talking to Ziwei for more than a year of love, Natalia found that she could not stand the life without Ziwei. He is mature and humorous, has a strong sense of professionalism, and supports himself. It can be said that Ziwei is the best and most suitable lover that Natalia has encountered. This is the blessing of the Lord of Glory. The woman who appears in front of me is the kind of woman who can only ignore her radiance even if she is standing there quietly. A strong warmth and bright energy are affecting everything around me, if there is a slight disease or wound. People, as long as they are close to her, can be cured in an instant. She is one of the two people that Natalia wants to see most of her morning lord, Ulixia. The power of mankind naturally has its limits. Even the most powerful warrior Alexander of the Orient continent has been trapped by the strong iron gate of the city of Corsac, and most of the casualties have been lost. Ulysses moderately said, when the warriors reach the end, they also need to have more understanding of the world, develop their own spiritual potential, and gain the power to compete with the magician pastor and other races. You have reached a limit to the physical exercise. The most peak before the master. What you lack is the exploration of the potential of the soul. I feel that your soul has been honed a while ago, you already have a huge wealth, but you don't know how to use it. Ulixia came to Natalia and her face burst into a big smile, but I have enough experience in this area to give you some inspiration. Please also give me more advice, Natalia bowed reverently. She is not the kind of food that does not change. She does not accept any guidance and help from others. She only relies on her own people, not to mention that this is from a demigod. The guidance of the strong, a rare opportunity. A lot of my own experience can't be used to point you, but I used to come across the sea from the far-flung Shenzhou continent, and created the Zongmen in Orient, so that the monk's career appeared on the mainland. There has been an exchange in the turbulence. The Shenzhou people have a unique way to tap the potential of the soul. Although it is completely different from the magicians and blood aristocrats of Orient, it is closer to nature and caters to the rules. Is the master of the martial arts Holy Land of Junzong who built the Black Sea in the end of the East Golden Sea. Natalia really showed an excited look. I heard that he is already alive, more than 600 years old. This is a bad age among the comrades, and only the most powerful magicians of the mortal can compare with him. Shenzhou is connected with the mainland of Orient, but it is a mysterious world. The dragon's vitality is locked up. Only a few Chinese people can leave the mainland of China through the lock of the economy, but they will never be able to return. And many powerful existences, including me, have tried to unlock the secrets of the enchantment, but no one can succeed. Eureka looked up at the distant east. If the person of the Shenzhou people worships the dragon is really alive, he must be a true god. The times are advancing, including the ancient blood knights who have begun to use the breathing method to cultivate the gas in the body to fight, and what I want to tell you belongs to the unique mountain of the cloud and the sea. Mountain and the sea, Natalia asked inexplicably. I can't move like a mountain, it's as vast as the sea. Ulixia smiled. I am a good friend with Yongzia Liu master. I pointed out how he used his infuriating inulant. In the return of the mainland, in return, he told me this breathing method, but for my special existence, there is only some reference significance, and I will tell you today. Ulixia is the first light in the world of Orient. Although she is now a human figure, she is never a person in nature. Therefore, her personal achievements and roads cannot be copied. She cannot pass on to Natalia. During the speech, a thought has been passed from Ulixia to Natalia. It is the unique breathing method of the great master cloud, and all the monks dream of the highest inheritance of the mountains and the sea. Natalia's mind was filled with a lot of mysterious scenes filled with artistic conception. It was the process of the great master Yunyun flowing in the mountains and seas to understand the evolution of the mountain and the sea. If her soul level has just been refined and sublimated by 11 way in the endless meditation through the soul trial, she is still unable to accept this inheritance. The Shenzhou people, who are known as Yongxiao, have established a great master of Yunzong in the mainland of Orient. It can be said that it is the most legendary warrior on the mainland of the Orient continent for nearly 300 years. When he left the Shenzhou mainland by the enchantment, he was already a monk master, equivalent to a legendary warrior. He experienced a very rich adventure in the earliest period when he came to the mainland of the continent, almost all over the whole. The mainland has challenged countless powerful warriors and finally won the horrific record of 354 wins and 5 defeats. Among the strategists he challenged were many powerful blood knights. At that time, the founder of the Rhineland, the Duke of Reinhardt, who had entered the sanctuary, also fought the great sect of the Cloud, although he had the upper hand. But still can't beat this magical Shenzhou. The Cloud rushed through the Orient continent for a full 50 years, and finally broke through the last major barrier. It was promoted to become a great monk who was extremely rare even in the mainland of China. In the end, he refused the recruitment of many kings and lords. When he first landed on the first stop of the mainland of Orient, Kingstown, he established Yunzong and began to teach the way of monks. The great master of the cloud turbulence has a profound influence on the mainland of Orient. He reveals the mystery of qi and breathing, so that the grassroots and ordinary people who are not the blood heritage have found a third in addition to becoming a blood knight and magician. The road is also the easiest way to rely on efforts to achieve a road. The soldiers finally became a profession after mastering the breathing method. 300 years have passed, and among the professionals in the mainland of Europe, the various warriors add up to a total of more than 70%. This makes the prestige and momentum of the cloud flow even higher than a peak. For one of the most powerful warriors of Orient, there is no one. However, this great master has the philosophy of indifferent to fame and fortune that belongs to the Shenzhou people. Therefore, he has been staying in Yongxiao zone, on the outskirts of Kingsburg, and has never been involved in the trend of the mainland. Natalia is very intelligent. If she chooses the magic road, it will not be much more than her sister Meryl. The strong blood of her wind and the blood of the golden lion will lay a very solid for her brilliant future foundation. Originally, her needs a long enough time, but mountain and sea, this cloud-flowing master's unique breathing method is finally like the enzyme in the chemical reaction, which greatly catalyzed Natalia's promotion. Speed. Natalia's whole spirit was completely filled with the void in her heart. She stood there quietly, with a serene atmosphere. The anxiety and confusion on the original itself had disappeared. Her heart had naturally calmed down. The image of the great master of the cloud is constantly flashing in her mind, and in this case she began to learn about mountain and sea. Looking at Natalia, who has already begun to feel completely still, Ulixia showed a happy smile. If she did not misread, this Natalia had a great influence on Ziwei. May become his future wife. Even after leaving the influence of Ziwei, Ulixia has already perceived the blood of the golden lion flowing in her blood, the blood of the French royal family. Princess Olivia was married to Corsica because she could not awaken the blood of the golden lion, but the blood of the golden lion in Natalia is so vibrant, powerful, and natural, just like the first French king. How did Natalia complete the awakening of the golden lion's blood? Has this kind of reversal that has never been done for hundreds of years? Those who have the inheritance of the golden lion's blood will naturally have the possibility of boarding the French throne. This is the most primitive and undeniable ancient jurisprudence. Ulysses squinted her eyes, revealing a thoughtful expression. Natalia was here for a full 7 days. During these 7 days, she turned into a sculpture, motionless, and did not eat or drink. 11. I carefully observed the situation of Natalia and found that her soul fluctuations are regularly increasing, and the barriers of the Master's card are slowly weakening. This is a very optimistic phenomenon, so Ziwei told the maids not to disturb Natalia's practice, and then returned to the Smurfs. After completing the second phase of the arcane and the work of the magical issue, the focus of Ziwei's work has shifted. The advancement of the arcane era is proceeding in an orderly manner. The most important thing for Ziwei now is the cooperation with the Chenexai Church and observation and analysis of the Dark Council. But before this, Ziwei had to solve a problem, otherwise he could not leave Violet Island, that is, Princess Scarlet of the Sixth Apostle Allendale abducted from the North Witches' Parliament. In a sense, Scarlet holds the source of ice and snow, this kind of power that approximates the water elements of the four elements, and is the same as the future of the bright future. A level of existence. But Scarlet's situation is obviously more troublesome. The source of ice and snow in her body is completely unaware, just like the glaciers under the sea only reveal a corner. She did not retain her memory and wisdom, but simply lived as a 12-year-old girl. It can be said that fortunately, she has been sent to the North Witches' Parliament for the strictest protection from the beginning of the 3-year-old vision. Otherwise, the various visions caused by her powerful source will inevitably lead to some evils. The shackles of the strong. Ziwei can only temporarily place her in a safe and concealed place in the Smurfs, accompanied by Meryl and give guidance. However, Scarlet's ice and snow source is still constantly creating various visions. Although the elemental ocean greatly attenuates the aggression of this vision, each day's vision is constantly upgrading. Just as Ziwei had just confirmed that Natalia's safety was once again returned to the Smurf plane, the sea of elements that had been calm had once again set off a storm, and the temperature dropped sharply. The temple priests of the elemental Holy Land had to wear thick the robe blocked the originally opened doors and windows. The sky has become dark and gloomy, with dark clouds covering the sun, heavy snowfall, and very bad weather. Who can think of it, all that is actually only a 12-year-old girl unconsciously caused. In a warm and comfortable room in the elemental sanctuary, Scarlet dressed in a fit-in temple priest's robe picked up her toes and looked at the bad weather outside the window, her brows wrinkled tightly. She has already got rid of the image of a stunted little girl, and Meryl, who has become gentle and mature, is standing behind her, putting a blue silk woven shoulder pad on her. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 614. Meryl's sister, is Scarlet an ominous person? I will always bring snow and storm to the surrounding area, freezing countless cattle and sheep, and letting the countless father's subjects endure coldness and hunger, Scarlet's melancholy said. This is not what you intentionally created. Your body and soul contain enormous potential. As long as you can master them, it will not only harm others, but also help more people. Ziwei Tutor will definitely help you master this potential. Meryl squatted down, smoothing Scarlet's frowning brow, gentle comfort. I hope so, Scarlet responded with a slap in the face. At this moment, Ziwei appeared in front of the two people. He smiled with a gentle smile. What happened? My little princess was sullen. Ziwei Mentor, when can I not continue to bring ice and disaster to the surrounding? Scarlet looked forward to looking at Ziwei, and the first impression that Ziwei had left for her was too after the shock. The blue giant bird that soared between the heavens and the earth called for the hurricane's heroic attitude to shine too much. For you, this is a burden, but it is also a valuable asset. Ziwei finally made up his mind. Scarlet, if you want to master this power that belongs to you, you must cooperate with me. After completing the analysis and exploration of it, this process may be painful. I hope you can stick to it. I am not afraid of pain, the little girl glared at her big eyes and responded seriously. And said, I only hope that I can live in the sun with peace of mind. If the legendary ranks come from the spiritual level of the soul level or the tyrannical level of the body to the peak of the mortal, then the sanctuary has begun to cross the limits of the mortal, master the field, and the power of each field will be physically condensed. St. Mark, when the holy mark is activated, he is the king of the field. The power of the source is the ability to go far beyond the realm of the world. This kind of power can only be touched by the gods, and the gods can grasp it. Even the Lord of the Morning, the light source she has mastered and the light source of the entire Orient world can only be regarded as a drop in the ocean. If anyone can fully grasp the power of a certain source of the world, I am afraid even in the gods. It is also a strong presence. Although Ziwei has zero help, he has not yet reached the legendary level. He does not have much confidence in the analysis of the source, especially the light source he has never touched before. But the elements are different. His in-depth exploration of the mysteries of the elements has made him one of the most understanding of the mysteries of the elements in the world. Scarlet in front of him has the power of the elemental attribute of ice and snow, just like a bridge connected to the sky that could not be reached. Originally, Ziwei's attitude towards Scarlet was slowly cultivated. It is not necessary to rush for the original exploration. After all, she is still too weak in her own strength. In the process of analyzing the source, any accident will cause damage to her. But now, Ziwei has a reason to speed up. He must first accumulate experience and open up the exploration of Scarlet's ice and snow. The morning sun, Eulizia, is waiting for him to go to the Notre Dame of Par. There will be even more daunting challenges. Meryl, you have to prepare, open the secret room in the ocean of elements. Ziwei has never been an indecisive person. Soon, Ziwei took Scarlet's hand and sent it to the secret room in the ocean of elements. It is the most concentrated center of the Smurfs plane, and the safest and most undisturbed place. Meryl quietly sat on the edge of the secret room, quietly watching this ice and snow source exploration journey. Ziwei's trust in her has reached the point where almost all important things are not hidden, and she has never been live up this trust. Communicating with the origin of ice and snow, Ziwei naturally has special skills. He once again completely enlightened the body, this time turning into the embodiment of water. Compared with the blue-colored peng flying above the sky and the red flame phoenix born in the fire, the water and the corresponding oxen corresponding to the water element look very common. Water is a blue-colored polymer of water, like a big blue-headed doll with short eyes and looks very cute. The size of the water is almost the same as that of Scarlet. This makes the little girl like the sprouting water at first sight. She instinctively senses a kindness. It is the power of ice and snow for the water elements of Ziwei. The avatar is kind. Scarlet in the eyes of 11 Wei, who was incarnate in the water, finally changed her appearance. Her soul and blood were solidified to the extreme ice cold. This extreme cold was enough to kill most of the life, but still surprised her. Keep the life fresh. A huge treasure house of ice and snow is unfolding in front of Ziwei. This is the source of snow and ice in Scarlet. It is linked to the whole of the Orient world. It is enough to help Ziwei to surpass the limits of mortals and observe and analyze the world from another angle. This is a very rare opportunity, but it is also full of unknown challenges. While exploring the mystery of ice and snow, Ziwei must also protect Scarlet from accidents. He slowly transforms his water elements into ice and snow. Try to match the strength of Scarlet. Ziwei's mastery of the elements has reached the level of purity of the fire. After the elemental inscriptions have been solved, the elemental spells have been mastered. He quickly transformed his water into a pure ice and snow, blue water. It also became pale in the snow. Elemental traction, Scarlet has closed her eyes, she is letting go of the control of the body, the power of the lurking ice and snow has been dragged by the magic of Ziwei, and it has become more active. The temperature in the air is dropping at a very fast rate, and it quickly breaks through 0 degrees and spreads towards 0. Meryl had to set up a thermostatic barrier around her body to protect herself. The entire chamber was quickly covered with frost, and all the facilities and furniture turned into white snow. Ziwei guides all this happening. The origin of ice and snow is getting closer and closer to him, getting closer and closer, a little stranger, and a little kind. Ziwei strives to reconcile his own elemental characteristics, and strives to fit the ice and snow, avoiding the last trace. Resist. Scarlet began to look pale and frowning. She was resisting this pain. The local witches' parliament has always used a repressive way to stop the body of ice and snow, but this moment a completely different approach to induction. The power of ice and snow in Scarlet's body seems to have been hungry for many days. The strong man rushed into the hotel, eagerly taking the water elements of the surrounding space, and the vast elements of the ocean's water elements poured into the chamber, pouring into the room. Carrie's body. This process lasted for a long time, and Merrill, who was watching it, took out a special thermometer, and the temperature in the chamber had dropped to below zero. In this extremely cold temperature, even steel has become very fragile, and the flesh and blood will die in an instant, but Merrill found that the pain on Scarlet's face has disappeared. Instead, it is a heartfelt comfort and joy, as if you are enjoying the hot springs. The continuous guidance of Ziwei and the perfusion element at all costs finally activated the snow and ice source in Scarlet. In the real magic eyes of Ziwei, Scarlet in front of it has become a pure ice cold, blue and white staggered. The energy level has exceeded the scope of the legendary 9-ring spell. The water system of Ziwei's incarnation slowly approached this piece of pure ice cold, and felt the origin of the ice and snow at a close distance. The temperature has become closer to absolute zero. However, the incarnation of Ziwei has already adapted enough to this cold. In the end, Ziwei finally approached this completely blooming source of ice and snow, so close observation of the distance, no obstacles. Obviously, the source of ice and snow is really the core level of the Orient world. It is impossible to simulate any magical magic. Even the legendary 9-ring snow and ice spells are impossible to reduce the ambient temperature to absolute zero. The inscriptions on the elements of Ziwei's compilation have completely lost their effect on the origin of the ice and snow. This is a sufficient force to seal the origin of the gods. The level is sufficient, but the quantity is too small. This rare treasure, Ziwei is like a spectator standing in the museum exhibition hall, can only observe at a close distance, but cannot play through the tempered glass. The ice and snow water of the incarnation of Ziwei is still fundamentally different from the origin of the ice and snow. It looks similar and cannot be mixed. Ziwei once again transforms his body into the fifth element ether. At this moment, the situation has finally changed. The original ice and snow source has finally released the final barrier. The etheric body of Ziwei's incarnation is integrated into it, and the final analysis stage begins. This is a wonderful adventure. It completely covers all the secrets of ice and snow. For Ziwei, it is simply the magical creation of nature. The overlapping and construction of the elements has given Ziwei too much inspiration. This is the magical work of nature. It is the highest level of elemental transformation and energy use. Ziwei is only an analysis of the traces of ice and snow in Scarlet. It has learned too much knowledge and ideas that are completely different from the inscriptions of the elements. For his own elementary school legend, the magician achievement is of great help. Ziwei wants to create an arcane age. In the process, he has first become an arcane master. He has his own arguments and analysis for all unknown knowledge and theory. Although he is eager to absorb the mystery of ice and snow, but Ziwei has never given up the mystery of using the theory of arcane to analyze and demonstrate the power of the source. While analyzing the mystery of ice and snow, Ziwei has always been distracted to pay attention to the state of Scarlet. The ice and snow origins are awakened from sleep, and after being absorbed by a large amount of water elements in the ocean of elements, this active force is by no means strong. It is only a magical master of Scarlet. However, after the wake of the ice and snow, it infuriated into Scarlet's brain like an instinct, and began to strengthen her soul and heart lake. The origin of ice and snow is the existence of symbiosis with Scarlet. This is an intensified way that Ziwei can't understand. Scarlet's soul has been sublimated and shaped, and Xinhu has become a meandering snow castle. Just like Allendale's winter snow palace. The etherification of Ziwei can contact and analyze the source of ice and snow at a close distance, but he can't control the source of ice and snow. Even if the power of this source is so slight, it has its own master, that is, the little princess Sigia Korea. For this point, Zai Wei is not regrettable. The power of the source can be said to be above the legend and the sanctuary. The power of the semi-god strong can begin to contact. It is already a chance for Tianyi to have an opportunity to analyze it. As long as you can continue to do it step by step, you will eventually complete the control. When the ice and snow source shift began to strengthen Scarlet, Zai Wei's analysis of the source of ice and snow had to be terminated. The whole process was only 2 minutes, which can be said to be a fleeting opportunity. However, Zai Wei seized the opportunity to complete the analysis of the source of ice and snow in the best possible time in 2 minutes, although the results will take some time to complete, but this is enough. Although the origin of ice and snow and the source of light are absolutely different, but they are the same source of power, Zai Wei added a little bit of confidence in the next trip to the Notre Dame. Zai Wei reversed the etheric body and restored the human form, pulling Meryl, who has almost exhausted all the magic and still supporting it, to send out the secret room. This is already near the absolute zero temperature, you should have left. Zai Wei gently smashed the sweat on his forehead and cheeks for Meryl, and it is very difficult to maintain a constant temperature barrier in ultra-low temperature. The same thing, even for Meryl, who has been promoted to the 5-ring high-level magician. Is Scarlet alone safe inside? Meryl smiled. Although she was weak, she also had her own insistence. The source of ice and snow in her body has been activated by me. This source of power is transforming her body. Zai Wei shook his head gently. No accident. Until the end of the transformation, she is at least one capable of casting the Warlock of the 5-ring spell. High-level Warlock. Meryl opened his mouth in surprise, completing the promotion from 1 ring to the 5th ring in 1 day, which is a common sense that challenges all magicians. The world of Orient is unfair, and life is high. Some people can only look up at the sky in the mud. Zai Wei said with emotion. The ice and snow in Scarlet is the source of strength stronger than the destiny before the legend. Her path will be smooth. The Arcanist is challenging this unfair career. For the Arcanist, the blood is not important, the status is not important, the most important thing is a heart that never gives up in the pursuit of truth, and a keen instinct. And unremitting efforts. Zai Wei gave Meryl a strong hug. Come on, Meryl, your future is equally limited. Xavier brother, I have completed a paper, I want to publish it on the Violet Journal, I hope you can help me review it. Meryl surprised and stayed in the warm embrace of Zai Wei for a long time, until finally, she only showing a sweet smile. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Du. Chapter 615. What kind of research have you been doing recently? I am very interested to take a look for these disciples of Yang Meryl. Zai Wei never limits their field of magic research. A truly powerful arcane master can never be limited. In a narrow field, limited to a certain school, and a combination of the family, in order to innovate and climb to a higher level. The new characteristics of lightning in a steady state, very interesting subject. Zai Wei seriously read it. This paper does not, but it has a very meticulous step-by-step experimental idea. Meryl passed the experiment. A simple elemental response power supply conductor was fabricated, the most primitive circuit was made, and a preliminary exploration of the voltage, current, and resistance units was made. A very forward-looking paper. Masters who have always mastered lightning spells are very rare. Lightning spells are very difficult to manipulate and often paralyze the caster itself, and this paralysis is simply a side effect that any caster can't stand. Lightning spells are also powerful and difficult to manipulate, killing spells. No one has ever tried to make a steady current. Until Zai Wei published a paper on the inaugural issue of Arcane, he began to have a lot of eyes on this field. Meryl is undoubtedly the most enthusiastic person in the vision of Zai Wei. She was promoted to a high-ranking magician in the Wisdom Tower of the Tower, thanks to the guidance of the construction Queen Dixila, the most good for elemental school spells. She began to explore in depth along the vision of 11 Way N, and this paper is the result of her research for more than a month. Although there are still some immature, but, Ziwei made an evaluation, this is a very valuable study, Meryl. I think this will be a huge project. The true charm of lightning is coming to me, but I can't be as successful as the mentor. I am a little confused about the specific direction. Hearing the praise of Ziwei, Meryl was very happy, but she still raised her own confusion. It is completely understandable that in the coming era of Arcane, the mastery and application of lightning will become a mainstream, and it will completely change the lifestyle of most people in the near future. Ziwei patted Meryl's shoulder. Locate the characteristics of lightning, focus on each feature, and define their names. Try to use the lightning energy deeper. This will be a very valuable frontier, and you, now, and many people standing on the same starting line, whether you can harvest the final victory fruit, it depends on your efforts. I will seize this opportunity. Meryl solemnly responded that the new development of the magic field will be accompanied by great academic value, and the researchers themselves will also be greatly improved at the level of the magician. Can independently complete the analysis of the nature of lightning characteristics as a 5-ring magician. I am afraid that in the future, I can even complete the challenge of the master's certificate with this. Arcane research is also a competition. Many people in the whole of the Orient continent have paid attention to the field of lightning. Whoever can make the most valuable research results first will receive rich rewards and great fame. For the study of lightning characteristics, Ziwei can be said to be the most forward-looking, but this field is still too narrowly subordinate to the branch of the elemental school, and its application value is strong, but the theoretical value will not bring too much improvement to itself. The future of Ziwei is already a legendary field, as well as the sanctuary and demigod above. The exploration of the mystery of the origin will be more helpful to him in understanding the nature of the Orient world. This is his current research direction. But for Meryl, this will be a very rich treasure. If she can completely dig out the value, she will not only be promoted to the Magic Master by virtue of her achievements in the field of lightning spells, but will even be able to continue all the way and promote in the future. Legendary casters are not impossible. Therefore, Ziwei will give Meryl enough support and encouragement in his own way. I hope she can grasp this rare opportunity and get a quick success. Scarlet's body of ice and snow is still transforming her soul and body. This transformation is gentle, her strength is awakening. This is a great inheritance comparable to the destiny, the future of Scarlet. It is really limitless. But her ice and snow source will also limit her success. Scarlet will have natural resistance to other spell elements and strength. She will be more pure and single. Ziwei's research on the origin of ice and snow is in urgent need of precipitation. Due to the 4 times of time of the Smoth plane, it has become the best place to study and think. Meryl can get so many achievements in such a short time. It is thanks to the time spent in the Smurfs for a long time. The elemental inscription originally edited by Ziwei is up to the level of the 7-ring spell. The combination of the 8-ring and 9-ring elemental spells is still blank. Although Ziwei has been able to display a variety of 8-ring spells, and even legendary spells in extreme cases, but strictly speaking, he is not an 8-ring magic master. After choosing this path, each step of the promotion of Ziwei must be completed after the completion of the compilation of the inscription system of the corresponding level of the spell system. It can be said that as long as the major spell schools that Ziwei himself understand are immature, it is impossible to promote the legend. Whether it's a spell of any school, it's getting closer to the core mystery than the master. It's a very difficult project that requires long-lasting research and key inspiration to make a little breakthrough. Even Ziwei can't easily edit the inscriptions of the 8-ring spell. However, this time, the analysis of the origin of snow and ice in Scarlet finally brought a glimmer of light to the work of Ziwei. The use of elemental energy in the origin of ice and snow is the most primitive and essential use of the world in the Orient world. This is human. It is impossible to contact the observed deep phenomena, just like the undercurrents under the earth, the people in the center of the earth, who do not know where they come from and where they will go. However, Ziwei did it. Although there were only 2 minutes of close contact and analysis time, this was enough. In the analytical exploration of zero cooperation, the original chaotic 8-ring spell element inscription finally gradually revealed the prototype. In the 7-ring magical stage, Ziwei compiled thousands of elemental spells into 16 high-level elemental inscriptions corresponding to the 4 basic elements. In the initial prediction of Ziwei, the next level should be directly integrated into the 4 major, the ultimate inscription of the 4 elements of each of the basic elements. But there is a very difficult barrier to overcome between the two, and it is difficult to make breakthrough progress. But this time, Ziwei found the direction. Thanks to the way of using the elemental energy observed from the ice and snow source, Ziwei will try a semi-active semi-fixed way to bridge a combined elemental inscription, and these elemental inscriptions will correspond to 8-ring elemental spells, setting up a bridge from 16 high-order element inscriptions to 4 ultimate elemental inscriptions. After completing the promotion master, Ziwei has not been as happy as it is today. He has made breakthrough progress again. He has conducted more in-depth research on the mystery of the elements. Although it is not the mystery of the ether, it helps him to the 4 basic elements. The understanding is deeper and lays a firmer foundation for his future success. Inspired by the analysis of the origin of ice and snow, Ziwei first completed the bridging integration of the 4 high-level inscriptions of water elements, and the corresponding 2 8-ring inscriptions have been completed. The 2 inscriptions of the 8-ring water elements have opposite natures and correspond to each other, just like a yin-yang taiji fish generally echoes. The 2 8-ring element inscriptions are equivalent to 2 8-ring elemental spells, Frost and Cold Prison and Water of Vitality. The former's frosty bitterness hits the soul, bringing the sorrow of a large area of death. The ice will sweep across the earth. If this spell is cast by Ziwei, it will never be inferior to the power of the legendary 9-ring magic. The latter condenses the true meaning of tolerance and healing in the water. It can be used to save the bones and save the dead. It can make an exhausted warrior instantly recover the full combat power. These 2 spells are completely created by Ziwei, and they are close to the elemental source of the Orient world. They have been compiled and integrated by Ziwei in the form of elemental inscriptions. It can be said to be a very great pioneering work. The 8-ring inscription Ziwei, which corresponds to the 3 elements of the fire, has not yet been completed. Since there is no corresponding source analysis, the speed of this research will inevitably slow down. However, Ziwei's research on the mystery of the etheric is very deep. The 4 basic elements can be freely converted in the hands of Ziwei. The only 3 elements of the 8-ring inscriptions are only needed for the time. Ziwei has been inspired and found direction. When Ziwei completed the integration and compilation of all the 8-ring inscriptions, he will be promoted to the 8-ring masters without any suspense, one step closer to the legendary field. However, an important news interrupted the research work of Ziwei. His girlfriend, Natalia, finally woke up from the world of one person and completed the challenge of the master certificate. When Ziwei saw Natalia again, she found that she seemed to have completely changed herself. She used to have a fresh girl charm, although she was somewhat masculine because of her experience, but overall it is still a more relaxed style. But now Natalia, standing in front of Ziwei, is like a quaint pine tree standing on the vast mountain. It naturally brings a kind of conviction that is trustworthy and respectful. Her blue eyes have become like a vast ocean, and the depth of the whole person has not reached the bottom. The momentum of the whole person has become too much. It can be foreseen that it will be greatly exercised in the soul and spirit. To sum up in one sentence, Natalia is really mature. At this moment, she is like a real commander and leader, and also a powerful warrior. Mountain and sea, the inheritance of the big sect of the cloud is really strong. I have benefited a lot. Natalia burst into a smile, like the bright spring flowers. Ziwei, I have been working hard, I have not given up. I have already achieved the Master of the Blood Knights at the age of 18, and have achieved the feats that the Bonaparte family members have never completed in the past 700 years. This is a very celebrated thing. Ziwei stepped forward to take Natalia in his arms. I will hold a grand party in Violet Fortress to celebrate your achievement, Master. I am tired, Ziwei. Natalia was kneeling in the arms of Ziwei, and said weakly, I want to see my mother. Not waiting for the westward response, there has been a slight snoring in the ear. Natalia has fallen into a deep sleep. Ziwei is about to leave Violet Island and go to the Notre Dame de la Vallée. Later, he will face the legendary caster. The spiritualist of the spiritual school, White Ravens, Schiller, if possible, will go to the position of the bones. Participating in the Dark Council, this will be a series of adventures and challenges, and he will once again leave Violet for a while. Therefore, Ziwei will use Natalia to complete the opportunity to promote the Masters of the Blood of the Masters, and hold a grand gathering in the Violet Fortress, which will gradually precipitate the emotions of all the Violets since the publication of the Arcane inaugural issue, and improve the entire Violet. The cohesiveness and pride of the forces. Ziwei took Natalia back to the bedroom, gave her a hot bath and let her enter sleep in the most comfortable state. Ziwei, the revision of the Violet Journal, the first draft of the statistical arcanes has been edited. This is sent by Professor Morris. I hope you can complete the final review. Charlotte in a red uniform began to exercise school assistant the work. The announcement of the selection criteria of the Arcanists has inspired many teachers and students. The number of submissions in this period has risen sharply and the quality has been greatly improved. It is difficult for journal editors to make trade-offs. I hope you will do it. The final decision. This is really a happy worry. Ziwei smiled and sat down at the desk to begin a review of this issue of the Violet Journal. Ziwei reading is very fast, so you can only say that you have to look at it, the theoretical experimental data of each paper. The subtle omissions can be easily seen, and the value of the paper can be clearly judged. After all, the quality of the papers in the Violet Journal is still far from the Arcane. But in these seemingly immature papers, Ziwei saw the success of Violet students. Most of them were just ordinary people a year ago. Even the most basic meditation would not be used. A trick can't be used, but now they have begun to have their own ideas, not blindly pursuing others' steps. Not a mechanical caster, the arcane concept has completely bloomed in the Violet, which is the most worthy of the Westway. Once he defeated Gatlin's mentor, he did not choose to go to the magical holy place of the Royal Academy of Magical Academy or the Thousand French Tower to study alone. Instead, he stayed in Violet Island, building a college, and training new people according to his own ideas. Now, he finally saw the dawn, the seeds planted have sprouted, and will bear fruit. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 616. It has been nearly 2 years since Ziwei came to the Orient world. If there is a home here, then it must be Violet. The people who followed him to learn magic are no longer the first dozen magic apprentices, but have expanded to a full scale of 5,000. Ziwei now has more than 3,000 disciples who have been the Confucius of the world. Even with a look at the entire Orient world for ordinary people, there are only a handful of university students with the loudest reputations that exceed the Violet Academy. The future Violet will surely become the mainstay of the Arcane era, and they will spread the radiance of Arcane to the whole world under the guidance of Ziwei. Ziwei devoted a lot of effort to the Violet Academy, but he could not divide himself into a few flaps. The constant pursuit of high-level magical mysteries, the preparation for the upcoming great changes, and the efforts to open the Arcane era occupy him a lot of time and energy. Many of the students of the Violet Academy saw their school for the first time, all in the virtual teaching of the magic classroom. The establishment of the Arcane Review Club and the establishment of the professional standard of the Arcans have brought a fresh impetus to the entire Violet Academy. For the name of Arcane, which has long been known, they finally found themselves so far near. Ziwei needs to make a sound at this crucial point in time, so he issued a notice on the Violet Forum, and will hold a large-scale celebration party in the next day, and Violetberg. This news instantly detonated the entire forum and the students who have recently entered the school. For the dream Violet Fort Lauderdale has long been looking forward to a long time, and now finally waited for the opportunity to enter the banquet. Before this, Ziwei still took the time to do something more important, that is to achieve Natalia's wishes, to accompany her to see her parents. With the strength of Ziwei now, a distance transfer is enough to bring Natalia directly from Violetberg to the Blue Fort on Corsica, just as easy as a door. Natalia put on a black uniform that the aristocratic youth likes to wear on a formal occasion. The fit and self-cultivation uniform makes her whole person look good, and the gorgeous and delicate little decoration adds to her the female's deserved charm. Ziwei is wearing a white uniform of the same style as Natalia. Handsome and elegant, the two stand together and have a perfect fit. I think this time, you are afraid that you will get married soon. Charlotte arranged the sash on his chest for Ziwei, and his eyes were full of envy. This is really a good thing to celebrate. Natalia took Charlotte's hand and patted her chest to reassure, this home will always have your place, dear. Well, let's go. Charlotte smiled and said goodbye to leave. It's a pity that Meryl is doing key research and is not willing to go back. Olivia still wants to see her, Natalia said regretfully. If you count according to the time spent in the smooth plane, she will soon be an adult, 11 Wei whispered, she will arrange her life, do not need your sister too concerned. Okay, hope so. Natalia took the shoulders of Ziwei and leaned on him. After mentioning Natalia and giving her the inheritance of the great mountain of the mountain and the sea, Urihaya, the Lord of the Morning, left Violet Island. She is already in the Notre Dame of Par, etc. Ziwei went to fulfill his own agreement. I couldn't thank my grandson, Yulichia, for letting Natalia feel a little regret, but she was not the kind of delicate little woman, and this regret was quickly put down by her. Starting from the launch, white light flashed, and Ziwei and Natalia have appeared in the hill behind the Blue Fort. Space transmission is really an uncomfortable experience. If it is an ordinary person, I am afraid I will spit it out. Natalia showed her expectation. I am looking forward to seeing Carlo's expression. Haha, he is a master of the 35-year-old master. It would be a very complicated mood to think of it. 11 Wei also showed a smile. Natalia can be said to be the most proud work of Carlo and Olivia. Carlo teaches her martial arts and military affairs. Olivia teaches her to be a man and a finance. Natalia has always been excellent, but excellent is far beyond the achievements of my father, which is a very interesting thing. Ziwei summoned a luxury flying carriage. The two men took the carriage and landed in front of the Blue Castle gate. They were recognized by the castle guards. With cordial greetings, the Blue Fort gate quickly opened and the carriage went straight through the castle. Compared to the ever-changing Violet Island, Ajaccio has not changed. The capital on this island is like a paradise. The people live and work in peace, but they have a very slow pace of life and a lifestyle of almost 1,000 years. Soon, Ziwei and Natalia saw the Count of Bonaparte and Princess Olivia. In the face of the two who are about to become their father-in-law and mother-in-law, Ziwei sent a gift that had already been prepared. Prince, this is a steel sword with a pair of swords from the latest research in my construction laboratory. It is named the Wild Blade. The magic runes engraved on it can greatly increase the speed of wielding two-handed swords. Hope you'll like it. The whole sword is very beautiful, the golden hilt, the ice blue blade and the blood red ridge are perfectly and smoothly connected together, and the magical rune is called the attack speed of the ghost. This wild the blade can already be called an epic sword. Although it may be a little different from the Bonaparte family's centuries-old family sword, it is definitely worthless. His Royal Highness, this is a necklace of life necklaces that I specially designed to be the most famous jeweler design master of Orient, the custom made by Weskia. The pure blue crystal is filled with the most essential vitality water, which can keep you exuberant energy and almost no aging look. The value of this string of life necklaces is still above the wild blade. The water of vitality is the latest inscription of the 8-ring water element of Ziwei. Before the magic in this inscription is exhausted, the wearer can almost always be youthful. The blue crystal necklace created by the master of Veskaya hit the heart of Princess Olivia in an instant. She was very happy to take this valuable gift and put it on her white neck. Although I haven't seen each other for nearly a year, but the master Ziwei, this gift is too expensive. The hand of Earl Carlobo is rubbing on the wild blade, this beautiful weapon to the ultimate as a knight. He also has great appeal, but he is still very good and excited. Carlo, Olivia, tell you a good news worthy of surprise. I have completed the challenge of the Master's card, officially promoted to the 7th Order Diamond Knight. The Blood Knight who enters the paradigm has a better name, called the Knight of Heaven, because they can get rid of gravity and fly above the sky. The Blood Knight who successfully promoted the Master class is known as the Diamond Knight, which is a glorious deed of shining like a diamond. How is it possible? Carlo directly put down the wild blade in his hand and stepped forward to grab Natalia's arm. He used the quickest way to sense the chi in Natalia's body. Natalia looked proud of her expression. She ran mountain and sea. The chi that was conceived from the sect of the Great Sect of the Cloud was still relatively small, but the quality should not be underestimated. Carlo's temptation quickly ran into Natalia's infuriating, and Carlo felt that this gas was as smashing as Foshan, and could not shake. Although Carlo's instinct is far more than Natalia in number, he only confirms it, not to live with his daughter, so he quickly retakes all the temptations. This is a more sophisticated method of using gas. You have a new adventure. Count Bonaparte took a deep breath and calmly asked. Yes, my father, I got the unique way to breathe the mountains and the sea, Natalia responded with pride. The cloud is flowing? The martial art of Junshiveo, Carol shook his head. It's incredible. The great master is the one who wants to visit all the people on the mainland of Orient. You can get him. Inheritance. I am sorry, Carlo, this inheritance has been poured into my soul in a special way. I can't express it in words, and I can't tell you, Natalia said regretfully. Nada, this is already a rare opportunity for my Bonaparte family. Carol did not regret. I already have my own breathing method, it has been with me for decades, like each other. Old friends are familiar with each other. It is difficult for me to abandon my old friends and to change another kind of breathing method, even if this breathing method is the inheritance of the great master. I completed the challenge of the master's certificate at the age of 35. This is a very good result of the Bonaparte family since the ages, but I didn't think Nada did it at half the age of me. The Naba family will surely move toward a more brilliant peak in the future because of you, Carol sighed, as if he was getting old. I am really proud of you, my daughter. Princess Olivia gave Natalia a warm hug. How did Meryl not come back? After a while, the Countess realized this. She is doing a very important magic experiment. Right, Meryl is already a 5-ring high-level magician. She is only 15 years old. This is a very bad achievement, Natalie replied. Sometimes I always hope that you can not be so good, so you can stay at home, spend more time with me, and talk. The Countess said, time flies so fast, I am getting old, sitting at home. It's getting harder and harder to keep the book in the afternoon, and it's boring to hear the barons and the countesses chatter. The normal aristocratic lady is almost married at my age. Natalia picked up a red grape in the fruit bowl and stuffed it into her mouth, habitually refuting. Suddenly, she seemed to realize what she was, subconsciously bowed her head, and her cheeks began to redden. The Count of Bonaparte also seemed to realize what he was. He carefully looked at Ziwei and Natalia, who were obviously wearing a matching uniform. After a long time, he said, "Yes, my daughter is already 18 years old. It's time to marry someone." Ziwei pulled Natalia to his side and straightened his waist. "My relationship with Natalia has become more and more intense. I have seen each other as a lover who has been waiting for my life. I hope that the Earl and my wife can allow Natalia to marry me." Natalia only felt that her face seemed to be burning. She looked down at her parents with her head down, and took the hand of Ziwei tightly, as if she had seized the only dependence. Looking at the rare daughter's appearance, Carol sighed, "The chicks will leave the nest sooner or later, and the daughter will marry sooner or later." "He is right, Ziwei, you are a very good person. Young people, the feelings of Nada are very sincere, we also look in the eyes. But before agreeing to marry Nada to you, I would like to reiterate an important thing. You and a descendant of Nada must inherit the surname of Naba and the Corsican territory. The inheritance of the Bonaparte family for 700 years cannot be cut off." Initially Carlo only wanted to find a shackle for Natalia, but now that Ziwei has achieved such a brilliant achievement, Count Bonaparte can only retreat to the next level. "I have discussed this issue with Nada for a long time. I think we will have more than one child. The blood of the Bonaparte family will not be cut off." Ziwei did not insist on this point. After all, the Count's request was still very reasonable. "It's still a bit too hasty to get married now. I am not ready to marry my daughter so soon." Princess Olivia suddenly spoke up, "But I think I can hold an engagement party." "You must first get engaged and wait until a suitable one. The time to step into the palace of marriage." This is also good. Ziwei thought about it or agreed, and he was not in a hurry. With his current strength, there was no external force to separate him from Natalia, and he firmly believed that he would manage this. Feelings, accompanying Natalia to the end. The Countess breathed a sigh of relief. Natalia has not returned home for a long time. I have a lot of words to talk to her. You two men are here to talk about it? The Countess soon took Natalia into the backyard, and Sylvia shrugged and could only chat with the Count of Bonaparte and her future father-in-law. Although one is a magician and the other is a blood knight, the two have a common identity, that is, the Lord. To be continued.